Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll see what happens. We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I am a dissident.
Don't move. Move.
I'm saying no. Why? Here, Palantir, 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 Palantir. It's not going to be stopped.
Seriously, we need to release the F-scene list.
Turns off.
I'm not a church boy.
Turns off.
They're full-on vampires.
They hate our beef. They hate our beef. They hate our beef because our beef is beautiful and theirs is weak.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Hello, dissidents. Welcome, one and all, to a Thursday matinee edition of the Do Dissidents podcast. My name is Keaton Weiss. Thank you all for accommodating the time change this afternoon. Appreciate that very much. Great to see all of you here. Thanks, as always, for being here. 541 strong in the YouTube chat to start things off. 271 over on Rumble. Please do smash that like button. Good to get an algo boost for the Thursday show, especially we're a Thursday show at an off time right now. So please help us smash that like button to get as big a crowd in here as we can. We got a terrific guest co-host here today, making his second appearance on the program. He is the host of the Gray Area on YouTube and Rumble, also now filling in over at InfoWars quite a bit, doing a lot of the heavy lifting over there, hosting the American Journal. This is his second of 3 shows today. That's right, doing a triple header. We appreciate him so much for making time for us. Please welcome Rex Jones. Rex, good to see you again, man.
Dude, it's great to see you again. The pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much. I've been looking forward to this since we talked about it initially. It's an honor to get to guest host with you, and just really a joy. Like, y'all have been the soundtrack of my life for pretty much years at this point. And I am a dissident. I have to admit, I am a dissident. But you're talking about it. I've been hosting the American Journal for these like the last month or last final weeks of that show. It's about to be discontinued on Friday. And like that whole network really is about to go away soon. A lot of people don't believe that. I'm working for free. I'm going there in the morning. I'm not getting paid. I'm not taking money anywhere. I'm going because like I never thought I'd be able to actually do that. You know, I actually never thought I'd have a show on the network. So I've been going there, and it's been quite the experience, and it's inspired me because like getting into this again 6 months ago, like I started doing this all when I was 8 years old, and I was a reporter correspondent at InfoWars for many years. But getting back into it, I've been trying to figure out my time slot. And like with you guys, with Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, I know when y'all come on, y'all's audience does too. It's just a very similar vibe. It's very welcoming. Like I know during those times of the week, I can tune in and do Dissidents and see a great show. But for me, try to do a daily live. I love doing Thursday, Sunday. Me and Tim do Gray Area, but the nighttime is not for me, Navy. So my daily show I'm going to do is going to be at 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. in the morning.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, our Sunday night is like our flagship show, and so you know, as much as I do love doing Sunday nights, yeah, the night shows are a little harder. They're a little harder because you know you're especially I'm up early every day no matter what. So yeah, by the time I start the evening show, I've likely been awake for 14 hours before we go on, and then and then we get the Q&A after. So it is a lot. I do like the matinees for that reason too, to kind of mix it up a little bit. But yeah, this is a triple header. So you did American Journal this morning, now you're here, and now you're doing your show, right?
Wouldn't have it any other way, man.
There you go. Awesome. Well, we got a lot to get to today. So like I said, everybody, please do smash that like button. Let's get a nice big crowd in here. This was just something funny. This is just a quick one-off. Did you guys see this? The best summary of America I've ever seen. This is probably my favorite response to Trump's threat of genocide against the Iranian people. This was in response to him threatening to end an entire civilization, to destroy an entire civilization. This is CNBC. This is how they reacted to that.
Trump has set 8 p.m., has threatened to destroy a civilization. How does an investor process that? Is it a bigger upside risk or downside risk?
Is it a bigger upside risk? So Alexis threatened to destroy civilization. So is that a bigger upside risk or downside risk?
Deadline that President Trump has set, 8 p.m., has threatened to destroy a civilization. How does an investor process that? Is it a bigger upside risk or downside risk?
What was that?
My favorite thing about all of this is just the worship of the stock market, because we like to pretend that we're a Christian country. You hear this, like we worship Jesus or whatnot. Jesus wouldn't do the things that we do for money and for death. Our God is literally the Dow, the stock market, gold ball, whatever you want to call it. That's what we worship. So she's sitting up there thinking about it in like a theocratic respect, right? Like for the empire, for our God, for money. Like, how do we react to this? She don't care about, like, morality is cheap to these people. It's just not something they're interested in because it doesn't cost anything.
Yeah, no, it's non-existent. It's not existent. Just that bubbly personality, you know, that saleswoman-like personality.
Deadline that President Trump has set, 8 p.m., has threatened to destroy a civilization. How does an investor process that? Is it a bigger upside risk or downside risk?
So, like, what do you think Iranian civilization is worth?
Right.
How do you think that'll affect the market if he destroys an entire civilization? She reminds me so much of there was this front desk woman at our old vet, you know, and she had like the biggest, bubbliest, fakest, most obnoxious, like fake happy personality. And swear to God, she could not turn it off no matter what. I was in the waiting room with my dog. Luckily, my dog didn't have a serious thing wrong with him. There's this woman who just euthanized her fucking cat. She's going up to pay the bill. Tears. The lady's like, okay, so we have for you today, it was $80 for the visit. It was $400 for the x-ray. And then the cremation is $875. So your total is $1,325. Oh, $1,325. Can I write you a check? Sure, absolutely. Whatever's easiest for you.
You know what that is,
not
though.
turn that off no matter what. Even when the lady's cat just dies, she's like talking the exact same as she would if she was like answering, oh, how can I help you?
Yes. Well, it's compartmentalization. That's what that is. And that's what they select for. I talk about this a lot on my show. These people are all empty suits. Like, you could go to the fairgrounds and find someone operating like a hot dog stand, and you could sell them out and they do a much better job. Right. Like they're inert people, man. It's funny. It's also disturbing, you know, because like that woman is highly paid. That woman is highly educated, I'm sure, whatever that means. And what is the result? This is what we produce as an elite in our society.
Exactly.
Even if it's a minor grade one, you know, it's just not acceptable.
Exactly. But that is what we produce as a society. Yes. I talked about that when I did my Tim Dillon segment. Like, he's talking about how, the Trump movement was a giant scam. Yeah, it's a scam totally in line with the character of the nation. Sure. Like a country that just worships money above everything else is, of course, going to elevate like the sleaziest, scummiest people who would do anything for money.
I really hope that we survive all of this, because I'm a fan of good TV, and I'd like to make some good TV one day, just satirizing this entire time period. I mean, it truly is the most crazy time to be alive right now. It really is. And it's an emperor has no clothes scenario where they're like we're literally walking around the empires naked right now, losing this war, and they're telling us that it's going great.
Yeah. I remember saying at one point, it at some points you do think like the Idiocracy movie was actually too kind. You actually
very much
they
so.
actually sold us kind of short as to how stupid we would get and how ridiculous we would get.
Their lives are way better. You know, at least they got the jerk off channel. You know, we have to pay for it. Yeah, that's right. Government subsidized. That's socialism, man.
Yeah, exactly. They got the free jerk off channel. That's true. That is true. All right, let's get a little more serious here. So, folks, we're going to pick up right where we left off. That tends to happen now. You know, the news moves so fast that literally as soon as we go off the air, something new happens. So Here it was, 6:32 p.m. This was just a few hours after we ended our Tuesday stream, thinking that the world was going to end. Well, at 6:32 that evening, Donald Trump tweets out, based on conversations with Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, so that's of Pakistan, and Field Marshal Asim Munir of Pakistan, and wherein they requested that I hold off the destructive force being sent tonight to Iran. I wonder what lawyer wrote this for him. Wherein sounds like he had a lawyer.
That's a big word for Trump.
Yeah, that's a fancy word for him. Wherein, and subject to the Islamic Republic of Iran agreeing to the complete, immediate, and safe opening of the Strait of Hormuz, I agree to suspend the bombing and attack of Iran for a period of 2 weeks. This will be a double-sided ceasefire. The reason for doing so is that we have already met and exceeded all military objectives and are very far along with a definitive agreement concerning long-term peace with Iran and peace in the Middle East. We received a 10-point proposal from Iran and believe it is a workable basis on which to negotiate. Almost all of the various points of past contention have been agreed to between the United States and Iran, but a 2-week period will allow
the agreement to be finalized and consummated. And that's sexual. Well, I looked it up, and I'm sure, actually diplomatic, they use it in agreements, whatever. I looked it up on air. Like, that's the definition that comes up, you know?
Yeah, when you consummate a marriage. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll have to consummate the agreements. Consummate the agreement. I'll be sending Ambassador Betty Johnson over to consummate the agreements. It'll be his honor. He said, Mr. President, it would be my honor to go and consummate the agreement between the United States and Iran. Yes. On behalf of the United States of America as president and also representing the countries of the Middle East, it is an honor to have this long-term problem close to resolution. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. So he then posts the statement from Iran so that there would be no confusion, because Trump got very bent out of shape that the news media was apparently misreporting the details of this 10-point plan, which we're going to get into soon. So just so there's no confusions, just so we all read the information that the dear leader wants us to read, let's please step out of line and be executed for reading the wrong plan. On behalf of the Islamic Republic of Iran, so this is a statement from Iran that Trump shared, I express gratitude and appreciation for my dear brothers, Prime Minister of Pakistan Sharif, and Field Marshal Munir, for their tireless efforts to end the war in the region. In response to the brotherly request of PM Sharif, I don't know if he means he or if that's some kind of abbreviation that I don't know. In his tweet,
I think His Excellency maybe or something.
Oh, like His Excellency. All right. I buy that. All right. Good thinking. Wow. See, that's thinking on your feet. That's being on your toes there. I like that. In response to the brotherly request of Prime Minister Sharif in his tweet, and considering the request by the U.S. for negotiations based on its 15-point proposal, as well as announcement by POTUS about acceptance of the general framework of Iran's 10-point proposal as a basis for negotiations, I hereby declare on behalf of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, if attacks against Iran are halted, our powerful armed forces will cease their defensive operations. For a period of 2 weeks, safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz will be possible via coordination with Iran's armed forces and with due consideration of technical limitations. And there it is, Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Arachi, the foreign minister. Yeah.
Yep. Sayed Abbas Arachi. Okay. Oops. What happened here? Am I thing freezing? Oh, no. I was hitting the wrong button. My fault. So we averted disaster, it seemed. And it's funny because at the end of our Tuesday live stream, I posed as a possible glimmer of hope. And, you know, Rex, the worst thing you can be in this business is an optimist, right? Like, if you tell your audience the world might not end tomorrow, that's career suicide. Like, that's that's what we call cope in the podcast world. Optimism is cope. Hope is cope. So you always have to be as negative as you possibly can. And so I said, hey, look, just to play devil's advocate, here's what might happen. What might happen is Donald Trump may invoke some previously presented piece of material in order to get some sort of extension or temporary deal. and then be able to say that it was his over-the-top bluster about wiping out the civilization that forced the enemy into taking the deal. So it seems Ryan Grim may have had the same thought, because Ryan Grim now tweets out, this is 10 minutes after Trump tweets out the ceasefire, "We received a 10-point proposal from Iran and believe it is a workable basis on which to negotiate. Trump and I guess the rest of the world are benefiting from the complete dereliction of the media to have reported on this 10-point plan. It is weeks old, but I'm fine letting Trump pretend it's brand new, and he forced it out of them." So here was a video that I guess he posted to his TikTok presenting this as a possible off-ramp.
People saying that Trump has finally gotten himself into a jam that he just can't get himself out of, because tonight he set his own deadline and he can't taco out again, but he also can't go forward with ending civilization in Iran. But there actually is kind of a third way that he can take here and declare victory. And it goes back to, there's this famous example in negotiations from the Cuban Missile Crisis. You guys probably already know this story, but if not, JFK and his brother RFK are going back and forth with Khrushchev, and Khrushchev is going through his own bouts of anxiety and firing off a lot of different messages. And one of the messages is a pretty decent resolution to the crisis, but before the Americans can respond to it, he withdraws it and sends a new one that has much greater demands. And RFK comes up with the idea of saying, ignore this most recent one and just announce that you have accepted the second to last one, the one that he withdrew. But he made the offer, so just accept it and then say you've accepted it and this is over. And he did that, and Khrushchev is like, okay, well, I guess this is over. So Iran, for weeks now, has put forward roughly a 10-point plan that is a totally fine deal for the United States. You can go find it on Dropside if you want. The details really aren't the point here. They have also now said they've cut off direct and indirect conversations with the United States after Trump threatened to end their civilization. But what Trump could do, because the US media has barely reported that Iran has laid out these conditions for ending the war permanently, it will be a shock to the American public that these conditions even exist. So Trump can use the media's complicity in this and say, because of my threats, Iran has now offered me these terms. I am accepting the terms. Iran is on bended knee. I am victorious. And then this is over. Now, Iran could say, well, hold on a second. Like, we don't really accept these terms anymore, but they are Iran's terms. And at that point, Iran can keep shooting for a while. But at some point, if you're not getting shot at and the U.S. is offering, what you offered, the thing will wrap up. So Trump does have a way out if he wants it. If he chooses civilizational annihilation, that's a choice. He still has choices to make.
So for a minute there, it looked as though Trump watched this video and decided to go with that. But we emphasize for a minute there, because as we're going to get to, spoiler alert in our next segment, Israel broke the ceasefire, of course, less than 24 hours in.
Do you mind if I comment on that
Sure,
really
of
quick?
course. Yeah, absolutely.
So here's the thing. As much as, like we said about the cope and about the optimism, as much as it's feel good to do that, and I am overjoyed, at least at the prospect of a ceasefire, and we're going to get into the problems with that here in the next segment, I'm sure. But the madness of Trump cannot be discounted in any way. Like the insanity of a man. Here's the thing. Like there's a lot of people here that are left leaning, liberal leaning. I come from the right. I was raised in the right since the Tea Party, like backdoor, like behind the scenes. I've seen it all. Okay. And nobody ever had a mandate for domestic and foreign success, like domestic policy, foreign policy, than Donald Trump. And even now, at this current juncture, if he did do what Ryan Grim is suggesting and just he cuts and runs and declares victory, even now, there would be a domestic groundswell, an army that would come support him. And all he has to do is cut ties with that foreign power over there in the Levant that runs everything, Israel. That's all. It's literally all he has to do. And when people call in and I have them call in, they give me all these like complicated solutions to the problem. all he's got to do is walk away. Like, all it would take is literally pulling out his cell phone and making a 30-minute video of like, look, like they have me, they have tape on me, they want me to kill a million more people, they want me to use a nuclear weapon, Bibi's threatening to kill my entire family if we don't do this, we're so corrupt, just please. Like, if he was to make that video and put that on X, there'd be no way to hide it, no way to suppress it. He could free himself instantly at any time. The reason why he doesn't do that is because he's not Darth Vader. He's not this tragic figure that was heroic and became evil. That's what I used to believe. He's Emperor Palpatine. He is the worst thing I've ever seen. We had Putin in Alaska, in our country, ready to make a peace deal. We're still over there giving money to Ukraine. Like, it's just, I want to hope, and it's like you say, like, it's bad in this business, and it's bad in this business because we live in reality. We're reality people. That's all I have to say. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good. No worries at all. So here we go. So, all right. So less than 90 minutes into this ceasefire, Donald Trump, not cashing in on much of that goodwill, he comes out immediately and says the alleged statement, because now there's a lot of confusion as to, okay, what is this 10-point plan now? Like, what are these points of consideration, right, that are so hopeful as to secure a ceasefire? Right. The alleged statement put out by CNN World News is a fraud, as CNN well knows. The false statement was linked to a fake news site from Nigeria and, of course, immediately picked up by CNN and blared out as a legitimate headline. The official statement by Iran was just released and posted on Truth below. That's what we just read. Authorities are looking to determine whether or not a crime was committed on the issuance of the fake CNN World statement, or was it a sick rogue player? CNN is being ordered to immediately withdraw this statement with full apologies for their, as usual, terrible reporting. Results of the investigation will be announced in the near future. President Donald J. Trump. Okay, so now he's threatening criminal penalties.
The president of peace.
Yeah, the peace president. Yeah, exactly. The president of free speech, right? CNN defends authenticity of Iranian victory statement after Donald Trump posts irate claim it was a fraud. So about 90 minutes after announcing a 2-week ceasefire in the war in Iran, Donald Trump was irate over CNN's reporting of a statement issued by the country's Supreme National Security Council declaring victory and averting the president's threat to launch attacks on civilian infrastructure. Now, I looked to find where this statement was and what the article in question was. I could not find it. Perhaps they retitled it or did something that made it, because I couldn't find it. But we'll go off of this reporting here. In the story, CNN reported that the Iranian Security Council statement read, "The enemy in its unfair, unlawful, and criminal war against the Iranian nation has suffered an undeniable, historic, and crushing defeat." CNN published a report on the statement as part of an ongoing series of updates on the war. Oh, that's why. That's why I couldn't find it, because it was one of those live update things that, updates every 5 or 6 minutes. That must be why I couldn't find it. It wasn't like an article. Trump posted a different statement from Iran's Minister of Foreign Affairs that was more measured in tone. Quote, "If attacks against Iran are halted, our powerful armed forces will cease their defensive operations," it read. CNN is defending its reporting on the statement. A spokesperson said the statement in question was obtained by CNN from Iranian officials and reported on multiple Iranian state media outlets. "We received the statement from specific official Iranian spokespeople who are known to us." Other outlets, including the New York Times and PBS, reported on a statement similar to the one that CNN did. Quote, "We congratulate the people of Iran for this victory and reiterate that until the final details of the victory are finalized, officials and people must remain united and defiant," the statement read, per the Times. So Brendan Carr, the FCC chair, he takes his orders from daddy. More outrageous conduct from CNN. Fake news is bad enough for the country.
Wait, no. Hold on. You do not criticize the dear leader. The dear leader is the reason why the birds sing in the morning, why the sun shines. That's what this is. And you see it everywhere on the right and the left. And it's just go ahead. I got a point after this. Sorry to interrupt.
Sure. No problem. Fake news is bad enough for the country, but putting out a hoax headline is such a in such a sensitive national security moment as this requires accountability. Iran put out an official statement that simply cannot be squared with the one CNN's false headline attributes to them. Time for a change at CNN. So what is clearly going on here is they don't want the media reporting that Iran is proud to have gotten the better of the United States in these negotiations, because they obviously have. So they want everybody to report what Trump truthed out, which was more measured, and by measured means more conciliatory to the United States. That's what that seems to mean there.
Well, we are the most propagandized nation on the face of the earth. I put on my clown outfit. I don't know if you can tell.
There you go. I can see.
We are the most propagandized nation on the face of the earth. There's absolutely no debate on that, to the point where you can talk to a majority of people that are uninformed and they think that we have won or are winning, when very clearly, if you follow any kind of geopolitical news at all, we've completely capitulated and totally lost. That's what any kind of acquisition to the peace plan meant. And the thing they always say is like, I have fulfilled all of my military objectives. Well, what was the military objective? Originally, the 24 to 48-hour portion was to kill the supreme leader and to immediately effect regime change. Well, that didn't work. Then it became about, we're going to reopen the strait. The strait's going to be open for business, baby. We're going to make the big bucks. Trump always loves to talk about the money, right? Guess what? That didn't happen. So we sit here and the goalposts just get moved and moved and moved. And now they're just saying that the war's been going on for 47 years. That's the new thing. It's a forever war. And that's why I'm wearing this shirt. And it says, the war is not meant to be won. It is meant to be continuous, from 1984. And this is why I'm proud of my dad, too, because he's putting out stuff like this right now. So, sorry.
I remember that shirt from the Iraq War days. That was the big thing. The numbers on the gas pump, right? Iraq and Iran. All right, so let's go to a trusted source, okay? Because we don't want to take any chances here. It's a free country and all, but, we want to play it super safe here. And we want to show the state media video that we are allowed to show here in the Republic of MAGA. So we're going to go with Fox and Friends. Okay, so they reported on the 10-point plan. So let's take a look at what Fox and Friends had to say about this plan. Let's see the version of it that they ran with.
Separate points. Some of them include the U.S. guaranteeing a non-aggression pact with Iran, continuing Iran's control over the Strait of Hormuz, acceptance that Iran can enrich uranium for its nuclear program, removal of all primary sanctions on Iran, removal of secondary sanctions, an end of all UN Security Council resolutions against Iran, an end to the IAEA's resolutions on Iran's nuclear program, compensation payment for Iran and its war damage, withdrawal of U.S. forces from the region, and a ceasefire on all fronts. Those are a number of points that are not going to be reached, and the next 2 weeks are going to be critical as negotiators try to hammer this out.
Yep, there's the real president. That's right. All right, so those 10 points seemed pretty favorable to Iran, and that is on Trump-approved state media, Fox and Friends. All right, so now, the morning after, 7:22 a.m. yesterday, April 8th, the United States will work closely with Iran, which we have determined has gone through what will be a very productive regime change.
Wait.
The basis for that, I don't know.
How many times did we see him come out on tape and say that this isn't about regime change? How many times did we hear him on the campaign trail say no more regime change wars? It's just unbelievable how anyone can still support it's beyond me.
Yeah, unbelievable is right. There will be no enrichment of uranium, even though the 10-point plan from state TV said that there could be. And the United States will, working with Iran, dig up and remove all of the deeply buried B-2 bombers' nuclear dust. It is now and has been under very exacting satellite surveillance. Space Force. Nothing has been touched from the date of the attack. We are and will be talking tariff and sanctions relief with Iran. Many of the 15 points have already been agreed to. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Okay, so still not much clarity as to what this 10-point plan actually is.
Well, he's just talking about a 15-point plan there, so he's got liquid brain. And this is the thing about Trump, is like he's definitely malevolent, but he's also total Biden 2.0. Like, who's actually negotiating? Who actually makes the decisions?
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like the 10-point plan is what state TV said it was, and that this is just cope and spin to make it seem like they came to a deal based on his over-the-top rhetoric.
Crazy spin.
Exactly.
Insane levels of spin.
Numerous agreements. Okay, so this was at noon yesterday, a few hours after the last one. Numerous agreements, lists, and letters are being sent out by people that have absolutely nothing to do with the USA-Iran negotiation. In many cases, they are total fraudsters, charlatans, and worse. They will be rapidly exposed after our federal investigation is completed. There is only one group of meaningful points that are acceptable to the United States, and we will be discussing them behind closed doors during these negotiations. Oh, I get it. So I guess we're not supposed to know what the 10 points
That's
are.
right.
So they
We're
weren't
the
the 10
peasants.
points that we just saw. Now he's saying they're going to be discussed behind closed doors. These are the points that are the basis on which we agreed to a ceasefire. It is something that is reasonable and can easily be dispensed with. It is very much like fake news CNN last night, headlining a, quote, source that had no power or authority to write a letter claiming great authority, President Donald J. Trump. So it sounds more and more like to me that there was no real plan, that they just delayed this a couple weeks based on the Pakistani prime minister stepping in and saying, fellas, can we calm down a bit? That's what it seems like to me, because it doesn't seem like they're willing to give any details about what this plan actually is, at least none that they want us to know about. They're now saying this will be negotiated behind closed doors. Go ahead.
I see it all as a fake out. Like I don't buy it anymore. When we say these things, I mean, you look at the 12-day war, Israel attacks during negotiations. And what I like to say is, like, it's the U.S.-Israeli empire. You can't separate the two. They're joined at the hip. We did that just the same as we also helped them initiate the strikes in this current conflict. Right. So it's just very disturbing. Very disturbing.
Certainly is. So now Fox and Friends, on the same thread that they posted the 10-point plan, they post update. Carolyn Levitt says Iran's initial 10-point plan was fundamentally unserious, unacceptable, and completely discarded. So is this damage control for having shown the quote-unquote wrong 10-point plan earlier? I don't know.
Ooh.
Originally put forward a 10-point plan that was fundamentally unserious, unacceptable, and completely discarded. It was literally thrown in the garbage by President Trump and his negotiating team. Many outlets in this room have falsely reported on that plan as being acceptable to the United States, and that is false.
Okay,
with the president's
Adol.
deadline fast approaching and the United States military completely decimating Iran with each passing hour, the regime acknowledged reality to the negotiating team. They put forward a more reasonable and entirely different and condensed plan to the president and his team.
That I guess no one has seen yet, right? Because nobody. Right. Am I losing my mind, or have we not seen what this updated?
It's Schrodinger's plan, right? It may exist or it may not exist inside an imaginary box, but you can't look inside the box. It's a matter of national security.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I guess we're not allowed to see what it is what her point seems to be.
President Trump and the team determined the new modified plan was a workable basis on which to negotiate and to align it with our own 15-point proposal. The president's red lines, namely the end of Iranian enrichment in Iran, have not changed. And the idea that President Trump would ever accept an Iranian wish list as a deal.
I'm so sorry. I feel bad saying deposit, but they're not going to agree to no civilian enrichment. This is a complete and total red line. And I just want to call back to the 12-day war. I was trying to think of this before. We have clips of Steve Witkoff saying 3.5% enriched uranium is acceptable. And then, the message came on from down high immediately after that. They can never have enrichment. And she's like a rage bot. Like, do you see how angry she is about all of this? Because she's compartmentalized, just like that lady you were talking about. She's programmed to do this. She's a war hawk now.
That's her job. That's what she's got to be.
Is completely absurd. The president will only make a deal that serves in the best interests of the United States of America, and he as a negotiating team will focus on this effort over the next 2 weeks, so long as the Strait of Hormuz remains open with no limitations or delays.
Okay, so again, still no telling what this supposed plan actually consists of. So here's the Fox News Now written report. Iran revealed a 10-point plan for peace with the U.S. Here's what's in it. Okay, so do they know what it is? Is this any more information? Let's see. The U.S. and Iran have agreed to a 2-week ceasefire as both sides engage in talks to secure a wider peace agreement Wednesday. Iran has proposed a 10-point plan and shared it with President Donald Trump, who says it represents a workable basis on which to negotiate. The White House says that plan differs with the one Iranian officials released to the public on Wednesday, however, according to the New York Times. The publicly available plan demands that the U.S. end all primary and secondary sanctions against Tehran, as well as that Iran receive full control over the Strait of Hormuz. The plan also demands an end to U.S. attacks on Iran and its allies, a withdrawal of U.S. forces from the Middle East, the release of frozen Iranian assets, and a United Nations resolution stating that the agreement will be binding. The U.S. would also have to compensate Iran for damage incurred during the war and accept Iran's right to enrich uranium, according to the plan. In exchange, Iran would commit not to build nuclear weapons and enter into peace agreements with its regional neighbors. Trump distanced himself from the plan and released to the public on Wednesday. And that's referring to this Truth Social post, which, of course, we've already read. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian claimed on Tuesday that the U.S. had accepted the general principles desired by Iran, meaning the one that everybody ran with, that Trump insisted was fake. So that brings us to now late last night, where Trump says all U.S. ships, aircraft, and military personnel with additional ammunition, weaponry, and anything else that is appropriate and necessary for the lethal prosecution and destruction of an already substantially degraded enemy will remain in place in and around Iran until such time as the real agreement reached is fully complied with. If for any reason it is not, which is highly unlikely, then the shooting starts, like how he puts the...
Yeah, he's a cowboy.
Yeah,
Yeehaw.
cowboy, shooting with no G.
Yeah.
Bigger and better and stronger than anyone has ever seen before. It was agreed a long time ago, and despite all of the fake rhetoric to the contrary, no nuclear weapons, and the Strait of Hormuz will be open and safe. In the meantime, our great military is loading up and resting, looking forward, actually, to its next conquest. America is back. You know, it's funny. Like it's almost like he actually forgets that he ran as an anti-interventionist peace candidate. To put like America is back as if he expects people to be proud of that statement when you ran on doing the exact opposite of all this. It's almost like he really has no recollection of having run as an anti-war candidate.
This is the thing about the mask being off. Like you have to understand, all of us, like I was cheering in 2024 for him to be elected. I came to the office the day that the assassination attempt happened. I pulled the cross out of my shirt and I told people to vote for him. And I truly did that in my heart of hearts because I thought he was going to end the Ukraine war on day one. I thought it would be very simple. Spoiler alert, it wasn't very simple. Right. And Trump's actually an evil, maniacal SOB. And finding that out like rapidly in real time, and then just thinking about all the apologetics I had done for Trump over the years, really like since a very early age. I mean, I told my dad the guy would be president. He laughed at me and called me an idiot. Right. And to see like this mutation and this metamorphosis into the complete inversion of his entire so-called political platform. And for that matter, people like RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard too, that have attached themselves to this just Titanic. Like that's what it is. It's the biggest wreck into the most avoidable iceberg in political history. He's talking about conquest. Our military is ready for its next conquest. You know, are the parents ready for the next sons and daughters to die?
Right.
You know, and it doesn't matter. Like white, black, brown, red, male, woman, straight, gay. Everybody's died in this war already. And it's the sons and daughters of flyover country, the places that he claimed to represent, the places that he claimed to care about. And he could care less. He could give a damn. All he's ever cared about is making the people that hate him love him. And that's the most dangerous thing about Donald Trump.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good way of putting it. I mean, and the wrong group of people who hate him, right? Like the Mark Levins and the Ben Shapiros. I mean, these are all never Trump people back in 2016. And they have more influence in this administration than people who had been loyal to him for so long.
tweeting out Mark Levin is the ultimate betrayal. It truly is. But go ahead.
So just to put a button on this segment, here is Piers Morgan's read on how this all went down. Piers Morgan, hardly a radical, but here he is.
Ceasefire agreement, it's worth asking a simple question. Did the US get what it wants? Well, the Strait of Hormuz is open, just as it was before the war began. But nobody is in any doubt about the fact that Iran controls it. In fact, some versions of the text refer to guaranteeing Iran's dominance. The Iranian regime is wounded and weakened, but there's no doubt that it's the same regime. Several branches have been hacked off, but the trunk and the roots remain. Many of Iran's military targets have been destroyed, but Iran still has its uranium, its ballistic missiles, and its proxies across the region. The Iranian plan, which Trump now calls a workable basis for talks, includes reparations for the damage caused, the lifting of all sanctions, and the release of Iranian funds seized by the United States. It's a multi-billion-dollar windfall. What does he think they'll do with it? And on the question of cost, the US has now spent more than $30 billion on the war so far. 15 US soldiers are dead. Thousands of Iranian civilians are dead. Trump's approval ratings are at a record low, and his base is at war with itself, all as the US prepares for elections, which could handicap or even end his presidency.
Yep. And he seems to be going off of the publicly available 10-point plan, which is the plan that the Iranians are referring people to. And our government doesn't seem to be referring people to any set of adjusted demands that we can litigate, which to me is a signal that there is no such list under consideration and that this really was just a taco. And I mean that in the best sense of the word. Our title for our last podcast episode, for those of you who listen to this show on the podcast feed, was "Pray for Tacos." I don't say taco is a bad thing. I was praying for a taco, but it seems like that's what that was, because it doesn't seem like there is any agreed upon framework to secure a permanent ceasefire. It seemed like his big threats of annihilation was more bark than bite, and that he had no choice but to just extend the clock a little more. And that overall dynamic is never going to change. It's never going to change, because what's never going to change is that Iran has the upper hand in this war. And the fact that Iran has the upper hand in this war was completely foreseeable, which is why, as John Kiriakou said, Donald Trump, not the first president to be asked by the Israelis to do this. He was the first president to say yes. And this is why, because the war was not winnable. And fundamentally, I don't see how anything really changes here, except we get 2 more weeks before this completely self-imposed ultimatum of civilizational death or capitulation comes to a head.
Well, what have we seen when we see like French or British generals or Army or Navy officials talk about the negotiations? And what have we heard from other world officials as well? They say Steve Witkoff had things explained to him that he didn't understand, right? They said that it was just like the most incompetent thing they've ever seen, basically. So the United States has finally been bled of all the people that I love watching Judge Napolitano's channel. Yep. He's got all these old heads from like the 20th century, like people that work for Colin Powell, people in the CIA for like 50 years. And they're all on there talking about it. Nobody in the higher levels of government right now, even in the middle management, they don't know what they're doing. And that's why the Israel lobby is able to twist our arm into so many things. They have more knowledge of our own government than we do. So any negotiation that we go into with anything relating to this conflict, they're always going to be at the forefront of it, and they're always going to be running it in some respect. So we really kind of have to wait and see what Netanyahu has to say. I know we'll get into that.
Yes, we will. Indeed. All right, we're going to take a super chat break here. Mr. Fancy Pants says, hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah to you, Mr. Fancy Pants. Thank you. $10, Keaton, fun for a new sink. That's the good thing about being a renter is they fix my sink. And they fixed my neighbor's ceiling too. Did you hear about that, Rex? My sink fell out while I was washing dishes.
No, what happened to you?
My dishwasher broke. So, I got 3 kids, so I don't wash the dishes by hand very often. So I had to wash my dishes by hand for like one of the first times ever in this apartment. And I had the sink like 2/3 full with water while I'm washing the dishes. And the fucking drum of the sink just collapses under the weight of the water. and like however many gallons of water just spill out onto the floor and through my neighbor's ceiling downstairs.
Damn, I've got a door that's on its last legs right now that I'm about to have to replace. So I feel you.
There you go. George says, welcome aboard, Rex. No need to be nervous. Really relax. We basically suck anyways. Well, I do. I stink. I'm worthless. Anyways, good luck. Hope you don't fuck up. Thanks.
I'm right
George.
there with you, bud. Right there with you.
George is our resident based Israeli, a rare breed, a based Israeli. He lives in Haifa, lives in northern Israel. Yeah, so stay safe out there, George. Satanica, love from Bahrain, down with the Epstein class. Thank you, Satanica.
Let's go. Down with Epstein's friends. Hell
That's
yeah.
right. Me Shoot Skeet, thanks for the super sticker. Appreciate that. Oh, look at Rex. You got a fan here. Xander Varkov. Hey, Rex, I enjoyed seeing you rip Jeremy the quarter pounder a new poop shoot. Enjoying his generational crash out?
I mean, he's just being nuts. He needs to calm down. We offered him. Here's the thing. So, like, he's been saying stuff about basically everybody, like a Tucker, MTG, my dad, anyone that's like strongly anti-war and has come out against this. This guy's been on the internet calling them out, saying crazy things about them, saying they're parroting Democrat talking points. But then he comes on my stream and says everything he's ever said is a joke and that it's not to be taken seriously on Twitter. And young man, you have a lot to learn. He also told me that because he's older than me and he's seen more presidential administrations and been through more elections, I am to just accept that America will never get better and it will always get worse.
Right.
Because I'm a fedora wearer. Isn't that so gross? Don't we want the world to actually get better? I actually believe in things, you know? So that's what I think of the QP. Shout out Kino Casino as usual.
All right. There you go. Yeah, no, I saw that. Yeah, I'm only joking. I mean, you just put out a tweet. I just responded to one of his tweets. I said, you're hilarious.
I can quote one of them. He said, bury them, take their oil, and move on. And then he comes on my show and says it's a joke.
Well, his latest tweet was, not his latest, but one of his latest ones, because your dad just interviewed Marjorie Taylor Greene. So he tweets out, MTG and Alex Jones keep insisting Americans don't support Trump. Why are they both on this podcast tour with the rest of their ilk, constantly demanding we wake up then? Why are they trying so hard to convince people of what they say is already true? Like, that's not a joke. That's commentary.
He is a serious political commentator.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just saying it's a cop-out to say, well, I'm only kidding. Everything I say is not to be taken seriously. Well, then you can't criticize anything he says.
Well, the reason why I zeroed in on him a little bit is because you can look at it and say, oh, this is just annoying. This is just one guy who it doesn't matter. He's just like your typical social media bloat lord grifter, you name it. No, actually, it's a textbook example for the problem. The people that are outright like a Laura Loomer who wants the third temple and wants the greater Israel and all that and is honest about it, or like Adam King or whatever that wants to sacrifice the red heifer. We know what you are. We know what you want. We oppose your position openly. You have a traitor and an enemy. You deal with the traitor every time first. And that's what it is. You have someone that's pretending to like, oh, I don't support this, but I do support it in everything I do, and I do apologetics for the war constantly. But oh no, I don't support the war. Actually, I'm just like you. I'm based, and then you're like, so you're intellectually dishonest. And he goes, I'm a comedian. Everything I've ever said is a joke. And then days after, a week after now, all he's doing is the same thing. So it's a bit outrageous.
Yes, I agree. All right, Rex, I know you're a fan of the show, so this is potentially a big moment for you. How do you feel about doing the Russ Dobular 666 headbang?
Yeah.
Ready? All right, here we go. We're at 670 in the like column. There you go. Did it. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Yeah. How'd that feel? I actually, I'm not even joking. I know I'm not trying to sound like a pussy. I actually get a headache when I do that.
Yeah, me too. It is a little awkward, but I'll do it for love of the game.
All right, love of the game. There you go. Beautiful. All right. Let's take a couple more of these and then we'll move right on. Civilization 7 Trump edition. Thank you. Eric Rousseau says Trump is being a tease. Lady Graham must be having a premature wargasm. Good one, Eric Rousseau. Appreciate
Princess
that.
Bubble Wand. Unbelievable.
Yep. Benjamin Stieber, thanks for the $5. We did not avert disaster. We are in a disaster. Global mental abuse by a dark triad narcissist with apocalyptic power is disaster. Well, agreed. It's more, agreed. And it's more than mental abuse, as we'll get to see. We may not have averted the disaster of this war, as we're going to get into a little bit right here in this next segment. So, less than 24 hours into the ceasefire, Israel broke it. That is Israel's MO. Agree to ceasefires and then break ceasefires. And then either blame the fact that you broke the ceasefire on your enemy, or in this case, have your stooges in the media pretend that there was no ceasefire in place regarding Israel and Lebanon. So Israel launches sprawling attacks on Lebanon after Iran's ceasefire was declared.
Monstrous.
Yeah. Now, you notice in the Western media, all the language is sanitized. We're going to show you some of the scenes from Lebanon that we're allowed to on YouTube anyway. But this was essentially a terrorist attack. Okay. You had 250 dead, over 1,000 wounded. Not every country has a New York City. Not every city has a World Trade Center where 3,000 people can be taken out. 250 deaths in an attack. That's a major terrorist attack that Israel committed against Lebanon. And you won't see NBC News or any Western media outlet frame it that way.
Well, and
this
really
was a terror attack.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And I talked to this with the Quartering on stream, and I said, you don't think that is a war crime? You don't think that's terrorism? We blew up the elementary school? And then he went ahead and compared it to 9/11. And he's like, oh, you really think they're comparable? And I'm actually like, yeah, I do. Yeah. It's terrorism, man.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's terrorism. There aren't buildings with 3,000 people in them in every city. New York is an especially big city. An attack like this, yes, this is a 9/11 style event in Lebanon. Hundreds of civilians killed, over 1,000 injured. It was a terror attack. There's no other way to really put it. Israel's military launched what it described as its most powerful attacks on Lebanon on Wednesday, killing hundreds of people and turning joy over the ceasefire in Iran into panic. The importance of Israel's attacks on Lebanon and how they could lead to the unraveling of the ceasefire was highlighted by Iran's parliament speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, a key player in the country's current power structure, who said in a post on X that the attacks were a violation of the negotiating framework that President Donald Trump had agreed to. So here's a statement they put out. Statement on the violation of 3 key clauses of the 10-point proposal agreed framework before the start of the negotiations. Once again, for more information on Schrodinger's plan, as Rex called it, which will probably be the name of this episode, actually, when we put it up on the podcast feed, you can go to our last segment. So here he's going to cite some. The deep historical distrust we hold toward the United States stems from its repeated violations of all forms of commitments, a pattern that has regrettably been repeated once again. As the President of the United States has clearly stated in his truth, the Islamic Republic of Iran's 10-point proposal is a workable basis on which to negotiate and the main framework for these talks. However, 3 clauses of this proposal have been violated so far. 1, non-compliance with the first clause of the 10-point proposal regarding the ceasefire in Lebanon, a commitment that Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif has also explicitly referred to and declared as an immediate ceasefire everywhere, including Lebanon and other regions, effective immediately. In our next segment, we're going to get into all of the lies about, well, Israel didn't know because this didn't apply to them. The entry of an intruding drone into Iran airspace, which was destroyed in the city of Lar and Fars province, in clear violation of the clause prohibiting any further violation of Iran airspace. 3, denial of Iran's right to enrichment, which was included in the 6th clause of the framework.
That's the big one.
Well, yeah, that is obviously a major sticking point. Yes. Now, the very workable basis on which to negotiate has been openly and clearly violated even before the negotiations began. In such situation, a bilateral ceasefire or negotiations is unreasonable. And this was, sorry, what did I do? What did I just do there? Sorry, that was my fault. Verified video and photos from the region showed how sprawling strikes across parts of Beirut, southern Lebanon, and the eastern Bekaa Valley shot towering columns of acrid smoke into the sky above the capital and sparked a desperate evacuation.
Yeah, just hell on earth. Just hell on earth for the people. It's not a big deal. Go ahead.
Yeah, just a 9/11 type scenery here.
طلعت رفاعي هون طلعت رفاعي بربور.
Yep, some of the scenes.
But Hezbollah, they're so mean and evil. Hezbollah, that's the response that you're going to get when you say, hey, this is a war crime, this is terrorism, this is evil. They don't have a response to that. They just cry.
Right. Exactly. Israel is unleashing its rage on civilians across Lebanon with some more just devastating imagery from here. Report says hundreds of people have been killed and injured across various parts of Lebanon due to today's airstrikes. Hundreds in one day. Yep. There are some pictures from the road there with those billowing clouds of smoke. I remember seeing those on 9/11. This is why I compared. I said it's really, for people who say there's no comparison, no, there absolutely is. There absolutely is. Rania Kalik, a journalist for Breakthrough News, who is in Lebanon now, she describes being there during this day of absolute horror.
Never been as scared as I was today. And so is everybody around me. Today was very much a Gaza-like situation taking place. The Israelis used 50 planes to drop 160 bombs in 100 locations across Lebanon in 10 minutes today. And then they bragged about it. There's so far 89 dead and over 800 injured. I'm certain that number is going to rise. For hours, all I heard was ambulances. For hours and hours, just ambulance after ambulance. The hospitals are completely overwhelmed. There's so many locations that were hit today across the city. Civil defense did not have time to get to one place or the next. I mean, there's people still under the rubble. I mean, it was the kind of day where, just like from a personal perspective, I spent the day looking around the walls that were around me and hoping to God that they weren't going to become a weapon against me.
Hoping to God that the walls would not become a weapon against me. So certainly best wishes for Rania and hope that she stays safe. But this is what you're talking about. These are the kind of scenes. Glenn Greenwald tweets 250 confirmed dead in Beirut and more broadly in Lebanon from the IDF psychotic bombing, obviously designed to sabotage Trump's deal with Iran. Wherever Israel goes, it brings death, destruction, and terrorism. The only silver lining is the world finally sees its true face. Here's a scene from looks like inside a restaurant or a cafe. Just absolute hell on earth.
I hate listening to that, man.
Yeah.
I really
horrible.
hate listening to that.
No, it's just absolute.
The wails, the anguish, like the weeping and gnashing of teeth of people literally under bombardment. It's really horrific.
No, it's absolute hell on earth with nowhere to go. Look at how fast that restaurant just fills up with that thick smoke.
And this is why I say that it's the U.S.-Israeli empire, because this is us doing this. We're complicit. We're an accomplice in every single one of these crimes. It's not like things are done in a vacuum where Israel goes and strikes. These are American-made weapons. These are American-commissioned weapons. We gave them the money to buy them. We subsidized this literally. So if you're not an American citizen and you're not active in being anti-war and anti-apartheid state and anti-occupation, the Palestinians are our brothers and sisters because we're both occupied nations. We're utilized and robbed and raped really differently, so that's what it comes down to. And it's patriotic to be against this. Don't let anybody tell you that there's something patriotic about those people breathing in toxic fumes, probably going to get cancer later. Don't let anyone tell you there's something noble about blowing up a building with a little girl inside of it. Don't let yourself be dehumanized, because you may think that, oh, you're the American, you can do whatever you want, it doesn't affect you, you live over here. You become like a piggy for the system by doing that. They turn you into an animal as well. They strip you of your moral character and your moral fiber and the inability to do anything about it once it comes home. Because once it comes home, they're going to use the same excuses. And if you weren't refuting it when it was happening to other people, you're not going to be able to say anything when it happens to you when they put you in a camp. So that's what I like. We live in a very serious time. right now. Like, this is not a joke. Like, this is why I'm live all day. Like, I enjoy being live and I like doing a show, but like, I'm seriously calling for major class consciousness and major peaceful, nonviolent, but like, we need strikes. We need to do something about this because this can't continue. It can't go on long term. We can't act like we're going to do nothing about this peacefully, nonviolently, of course.
Yeah, no, amen. I mean, it is very, very severe times right now. And yes, this all does come back home. It all does come back home. It doesn't come home right away. But notice they're starting to use the Gaza playbook elsewhere. They put Cuba under siege. They turned the lights out on Cuba, right? I mean, that's what Israel did in Gaza at first. Once you normalize genocidal tactics, it spreads. It spreads very, very quickly, like a cancer. Yes. Lebanon Civil Defense Service said the new strikes had killed at least 254 people and injured 1,165. Lebanon's health ministry put the preliminary death toll from the new strikes at 182.
It's higher now.
Yeah.
It's higher now. It's over 200 for the initial. Go ahead.
Heaping more casualties on the more than 1,500 in Lebanon already killed in the more than 5-week-old Israeli invasion. So don't forget, the civilian toll of this is already in the thousands in Lebanon and, of course, in Iran as well. Hezbollah had halted fire on northern Israel after the ceasefire between Iran, the U.S., and Israel took effect, the group said in a statement. Here is Benjamin Netanyahu, in case you don't believe that this was terrorism. Here he is in 1986, giving his definition of terrorism as the systematic and deliberate attack, the murder, maiming, and menacing of innocents of civilians for political goals.
Is target the innocent deliberately. And therefore, my definition of terrorism is the systematic and deliberate attack, the murder, maiming, and menacing of innocents, of civilians, for political goals.
Yep. Well, there you have it. Straight from his mouth. Pop Base tweets, earlier today, Israel dropped over 160 bombs across areas in Lebanon within 10 minutes. 160 bombs in 10 minutes. The IDF describes this assault as part of a new operation they named Eternal Darkness.
The good guys.
Yeah, Eternal Darkness, claiming they are targeting Hezbollah sites. Oh, yeah, no, that sounds like a mission not aimed at a civilization at all. Eternal Darkness. No, this is just an anti-terrorism operation there. Level entire city blocks, fill buildings up with smoke. Civilian apartment buildings have been completely destroyed with reports of hundreds of deaths. Wow. Candace Owens tweets out, there will never be peace in the world while Israel exists. Mehdi Hassan, the Israelis are terrorists. No other word for it. And yeah, even this guy, even the Steven Crowder CEO, what's his name? This is more
I forget. I also don't know. I know I'm a nobody, but I also don't know. This is him reading his prepared statement with the gun behind the camera. Like, look at this behavior. I mean, what Louder with Crowder has become is a bunch of like 50-year-old dudes that are, some of them are Canadian even, that are on TRT, and they wear their bandolier gun holders and try to sell you coffee and Empire now. It's crazy.
So here is the Crowder network. Even they are like, hey, this is too much. This is too far.
The hand of a lot of people who have been critical of this administration, saying that we've been led into this war by the nose by Israel, and we're doing it just for Israel. This is a moment. And I pray that President Trump hears this from people who are not out here screaming at you for every single thing that you do. This is one of those moments where you tell them to knock it off. They are not in charge. Israel does not run this thing. If they want anything that we do that happens to align with what...
It's all built off a false premise. They do run the entire operation. Marco Rubio said it. The reason why we went in is because they were going to go in and Iran was going to retaliate and kill American soldiers. So we had to do decapitation and have immediate regime change. That's why this war happened. So I don't like the whole thing. And this is what the quartering does as well, where it's like, oh, I couch everything I say. I hope Trump listens. The Israelis are not in charge. He's in charge. Oh, and it's so fake. Like, I don't believe this man. He's been around the sun many more times than I have. I don't believe he's this stupid. Maybe they are.
Well, you're right. Like the premise of this is, hey, Israel doesn't run our foreign policy, but when Israel attacks Lebanon less than 12 hours into the ceasefire, that creates the impression that Israel runs our foreign policy, even though they don't. So they really
Bingo.
shouldn't do it, because by doing it, they're feeding this misimpression that Israel runs our foreign policy. It's doublespeak. It's
Yes.
classic gaslighting. Of course, what he says there, what he's getting at here is that, yes, Israel does run our foreign policy, especially in this case.
What they want. I'm not saying that sometimes they don't give us some information that we feel like, yes, this works for us, it's working for you as well. I'm not saying that that doesn't happen. I get it. I don't go so far as to think that they have been the only reason that we've gotten into any war in the Middle East ever. I don't think that's
They're not the only reason we've gotten into any war in the
They're
Middle
just
East
the main
ever.
one.
But
They're
but
just
they,
it's just 70 to 80% of the problem.
Yeah, exactly. They're not the only reason we've gotten into every war in the Middle East ever, although they've been, I think, a key reason in just about every one. And when you look at the clean break memo and you look at the toppling of Syria, the toppling of Iraq, we were very conscious of the fact that those wars benefited Israel. So you want to say we would have invaded Iraq whether Israel wanted us to or not? Maybe. That is debatable. That is not a guarantee, I don't think. But all right, you want to say Israel wasn't the sole cause of the Iraq war? Fine. They're clearly the sole cause of this one. We know that. We're going to do a segment later on in the show. Now the New York Times just put out what, in anything resembling a sane society, would be a bombshell report that would bring upon impeachment hearings.
Wow.
The New York Times just said Netanyahu came to Donald Trump. They sat in the Situation Room, and just about everyone in Trump's inner circle, after Bibi left, said that was bullshit. He's overselling. You shouldn't do it. So, in other words, the Israelis came to Washington and convinced us to take action that benefited them. You know what that sounds a lot like? Collusion.
Yeah.
Remember in the first term, all the liberals couldn't stop saying the word collusion about Russia?
Yep.
Well, there was collusion between Trump and a foreign power. It just wasn't Russia. It was Israel, and it continues to be Israel. Yeah, just pretty extraordinary. Pretty extraordinary. Well, hey, folks, it's not all doom and gloom. I think you'll be very encouraged to hear that the prime minister of Israel, not Netanyahu's personal account, but through his official prime minister of Israel handle, put out a statement that we all know we can really take to the bank. I mean, if there's one thing we know is when the Israelis say something, they mean it, right? They are nothing if not honest and straightforward. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in light of Lebanon's repeated requests to open direct negotiations with Israel, I instructed at the government meeting yesterday to open direct negotiations with Lebanon as soon as possible. The negotiations will focus on the disarmament of Hezbollah and the establishing of peaceful relations between Israel and Lebanon. Israel appreciates the call made today by the Prime Minister of Lebanon to demilitarize Beirut. Now, Rex, you were telling me right before we went on the air, actually, that Smotrich, not the Prime Minister, of course, just put out some sort of much more hostile statement. Is that right?
Yeah, I saved it. I'll try to pull it up on my phone here whenever we next start talking or showing another clip. But I mean, it's the exact same thing that he's publicly said about Gaza. And I think Smotrich is the finance minister. I think I'm getting that correct, right? And their entire narrative has always been, or it's not a narrative, it's their plan, I should say. The demolition is always the most expensive or most timely, time-consuming cost to the reconstruction and the rebuilding of the new settlements. You know, so that's what it's always about. It's about land expansion. And let's look at Gaza, let's look at the West Bank, and then let's look at Lebanon. They want to settle up there as well. How is this going to fly in his mind? How is he going to be able to present this to the world? It's a complete cockamamie, completely just backwards nutball scheme, because we've lost this war. They're going to be involved in this war until they make a deal themselves with Iran. And he thinks he can call up 425,000 reservists and still do this. So we have real madmen at the controls here, holding the steering wheel. And the thing that I'm worried about with all this is the negotiations go on, whatever happens, blah, blah, blah. Eventually, Netanyahu, if he feels feeling his oats enough, he might use a nuclear weapon. And I've talked to a lot of people about this. A lot of people say that that's not really likely, that we wouldn't let them do it, number one. And number two, they don't want to do that either, because they would destroy their standing in the region, and other powers would have to intervene. They're going for broke. Like this Lebanon invasion, this is another reason why I don't believe in the ceasefire. They would not be doing this. They would not be displacing, I think it's up to 1.4 million people in Lebanon right now, if that was not a permanent occupation, conquest, colonization campaign. Like that's what this is. That's the Iranian thing was different, because what they wanted to do is they wanted to take the expats and the people that were friendly with the Shah's government that got kicked out. They wanted to kind of insert people like PBD back into the country as like a ruling class, and kind of run it as a fake democracy from the inside. They're not interested in that land, but the land of Jordan, the land of Saudi Arabia, the land of Lebanon, land in Syria, Golan Heights, all of it. That's the real crown jewel to them, and they're not letting that go. So your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I mean, Lebanon is clearly lands that they want. They made that clear. They bombed Lebanon. I forget the exact number of days, but it was within a couple of weeks of October 7th. That's what Tucker Carlson just made that point to that I think she's the editor for The Economist. I forget her name. He's like, yeah, within weeks of October 7th, Israel is bombing Lebanon. So what is that about? Of course, it's about that land. Of course, it is about conquest. And of course, yes, I agree. I mean, they are playing for keeps. They're going for broke here. Their standing in the world is plummeting. So they're figuring here is, if not now, when? Like, we can't wait to do this some other time.
And then you have the archetypal boomer, the president, there to usher it all in, the maitre d' of the Golden Corral of death. That's what he is.
That's a good one. I like that. The maitre d' of the Golden Corral of death. That is quite the phrase. I like that. But yeah, no, I mean, this is just a complete horror, and this should put to doubt, to me, no one watching this show has any doubts about this, but how can anybody look at this sequence of events where not 24 hours into a ceasefire, Israel goes ahead and commits this terror attack, killing hundreds of civilians in one shot in Lebanon? I mean, that would be a deadly day by Gaza standards. When Israel killed a couple hundred Palestinians in a day, that made news as, wow, that's a huge death toll for a strike. I mean, this was not to minimize anything or compare anything. It's all horrible. It's all criminal. It's all genocidal. But just to give people an idea of just how severe an attack this was, and the scope of it, and the intention to do it the day after a ceasefire, how could anybody have any doubts that Israel is your problem here? They're your problem here. It's not any other country in the region that's causing these problems. It's Israel that is agitating for violence and war.
And God forbid you have a good day in the Middle East. Like you hear about a peace deal or something, you're living in one of these countries, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq. God forbid you have a good day, because the moment everything's calm, that's when they're sending the bomb to your building. Like literally. Like these people in Lebanon, maybe they think it's going to be over. And then Israel's like, spoiler alert. And I hate to be crude here. I'm not trying to make light of anything, but like, this is how, like, it's not a joke. That's why I say these things. It's not a joke. And when people like the quartering say it's a joke, it's not a joke, man. It makes me mad to think about this, to think about people that are literally just chilling like us with their families. I saw one video from Lebanon of this girl walking down the street with her dad, and she's using a Snapchat filter.
I saw that too. Yeah.
You know, it's just unbelievable, man. Those people are just like us.
I saw that too. I almost included that. Yeah, there's this girl walking around, just, you know, doing the little like silly, stupid Instagram generated, Snapchat generated, like, you know, funny effects on your face. And then, yeah, boom, missile hits. Oh, it's absolutely horrific. Yeah, no other word for it. Okay, let's go to some super chats here. Ant from Ohio: since YouTube rejected my last attempt at a super chat, I'll just stick to the words that are still safe to type on this platform: the and it. Thanks, Ant from Ohio. Appreciate that. Jose Navarro says, notice how he turned the agreement into a confusing shit show to chicken out and continue his verbal threats and buy more time. Yeah, exactly. It seemed like the confusion was the point there. That's what it seemed like. Yeah, because I'm no closer to understanding what's actually in this plan, assuming there is one. $1 Million Trooper says, along with Schrodinger's 10-point plan, we may also be dealing with Schrodinger's war objectives and Schrodinger's Manchurian draft dodger candidates. Yes, indeed. Vienticus Prime, everything's a scam, everything's a lie, everything's hypocrisy, and so you don't comply. Thank you, Vienticus. Mill Raven says Iran needs more clear power plants, the only sites that are really off limits due to toxic fallout. More nuclear power plants. I get what you're saying. Does YouTube censor the word nuclear now? Who knows?
That'd be
Keaton,
crazy.
That would be crazy. Keaton, I don't know who this commie is you have co-hosting with you. Probably raised by hippies in some commune in San Francisco. Because you ask him why he hates America. Ha! Good one. Good one, EO Shush. He's got jokes.
The first video I ever did when I'm like 9 years old was called Terrorism 101. It was on the U.S. state sponsor of terror. Like, it's so funny.
Wow. Brad Gilbert, Rex, get your dad to call him Bobo Nitwit Yahoo. There you go.
All right.
Run that by him. Let's see. Mel Namcrone, Rex dropping the only types of bombs we need. Truth bombs.
Thank you.
There you go. Awesome. All right, folks. I want to take a quick game break to tell you about our friends at Chapter, because millions of seniors are on the wrong Medicare plan and many of them don't know it. So here's how it happens. When you're trying to figure out Medicare, who do you call? That's the question. Most people end up talking to a broker, and what they don't tell you when you talk to a broker is that brokers get paid by insurance companies to sell you specific plans. And so their income depends on what you enroll in. That's not an advisor. That's a salesperson with a conflict of interest. And so you end up making a choice based on advice that was never designed to actually help you. It was designed to get a commission for the person you talked to on the phone when you enrolled. And this is how millions of people end up enrolling in Medicare plans that are not right for them. Chapter is the exception. Chapter is the only national advisor that compares every Medicare plan in the country, Their advisors are salary-based, so there's no hidden incentives. You tell them your doctors and prescriptions. Chapter does the hard work of finding what fits. So if you're already on the right plan, and that is a determination they make, then that's the end of that. They'll tell you you're good where you are, and have a nice day. Either way, you get off the phone knowing you made the right call. It's worth a call. It's free, no obligation, nothing to lose. A call with Chapter is only 20 minutes. So if you're turning 65 or already on Medicare, give Chapter a call at 404-706-0804. You'll talk to a person. This is a phone number they created specifically for the Due Dissidents audience. So you will be put through to someone who knows where you came from, and they will take some time to look over your situation and help you find the plan that's best for you. That's Chapter 404-706-0804. Okay, let's move right on along here. Okay, so Israel strikes Lebanon less than 24 hours into this supposed ceasefire. And so let's see what the fine people in the United States government have to say about this. Here is J.D. Vance insisting this was just some misunderstanding because Lebanon was never off limits as per the terms of the ceasefire.
I actually think, and there's a lot of bad faith negotiation and a lot of bad faith, propaganda going on. I think this comes from a legitimate misunderstanding. I think the Iranians thought that the ceasefire included Lebanon, and it just didn't.
If you think you'll ever be president, that is a legitimate misunderstanding at this point. Nobody's voting for you after this. I don't know who the hell you think you're bullshitting at this point. If you had any honor, you would resign. Let's take this one more time.
Well, this is the thing. This is the thing that doesn't make sense to me, right? You look at someone, I'll point out three figures to you right now. J.D. Vance, RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard. If any one of these people were to resign from the administration in a principled way like Joe Kent did, where they put out a statement and they're like, can't be a part of this anymore. It's against what I thought I was signing up for, whatever you want to say, even if it's an opportunist, right? And they're politicians. So definitely if it's an opportunistic event, that's the quickest route to the presidency, to another cabinet position in a new administration, to winning a congressional or Senate seat that I could imagine. So to me, that's the real horror movie aspect of this, is watching these people shuffle around and toe the party line when, I don't think, unless they had a gun to their head, like I just thinking about like myself, maybe in this scenario, the first thing I would do is cut bait and trash the administration, because that's the spirit on the right wing. That's what's going to be present in the party and right now in 2026, but more so in 2028. I mean, I'm seeing this on the ground from everybody. The people that are shilling this message that everything's going to be okay, they're the ones getting paid. They're the ones in the algorithm. But the grassroots, ground level, gut level, as my dad likes to say, of the like right wing, so-called, JD Vance, Marco Rubio, just Jeb Bush 2.0. That's what they are.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of those cases where you're right. The principled thing to do and the opportunistic thing to do are the same.
Yes.
Like, they are the same. Like, it is actually good for your career to do what Joe Kent did at this point. And that would be what a principled person would do.
First of all,
yes.
I actually think, and there's a lot of bad faith negotiation and a lot of bad faith, propaganda going on.
Sure,
I think
buddy.
this comes from a legitimate misunderstanding. I think the Iranians thought that the ceasefire included Lebanon, and it just didn't. We never made that promise. We never indicated that was going to be the case. What we said is that the ceasefire would be focused on Iran, and the ceasefire would be focused on America's allies, both Israel and the Gulf Arab states.
We showed you the statements.
Well, Israel. Well, okay. So, in the second statement, you contradicted the first. We didn't say that the ceasefire would involve Lebanon. We said the ceasefire would involve Iran and Israel and its allies. So what does that mean? Direct combat between Iran and the United States and its allies, meaning what? They can't hit Iran and Iran can't hit you. Iran is not hitting America. They're not capable of hitting the American homeland. The idea that a ceasefire means Israel is allowed to obliterate Lebanon, the idea that that was the language of the ceasefire, is just nonsense on its face. Nobody's buying that.
I don't like it, Keaton, when you're racist and anti-Semitic on the show. Okay, because they have a space program. Okay, you haven't heard about the Fox News people telling you about the space program and the ICBM they're working on and the Looney Tunes plan to hit America. Oh, wait, there's another country we're allied with that has something called the Samson option, where they're going to nuke every capital around the world. But no, those are our friends. It's just, you see the hypocrisy, and it's not like this guy is ignorant. And a lot of the time on the right, the attitude towards these types, like whether it's a Trump or a JD or especially like a RFK or a Gabbard, what we hear is like, you got to trust the team, brother. You got to trust the team. They're looking into it. There is no looking into it. They know all of it already. He knows he's lying to the people behind the camera.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just absolutely absurd on its face. Here is the tweet. Here is the statement from the Pakistani Prime Minister, Shehbaz Sharif. With the greatest humility, I am pleased to announce that the Islamic Republic of Iran and the United States of America, along with their allies, have agreed to an immediate ceasefire everywhere. This is my highlighting, including Lebanon and elsewhere, effective immediately. Plain as day. He even tagged real Donald Trump and JD Vance and Marco Rubio, tagged the whole team. So everybody knows that has 12.2 million views. Pretty sure JD Vance saw that tweet. I'm betting he was one of the 12.2 million who read that one.
Keaton, the party tells us to reject the evidence of our eyes and ears. You forget this. Like, it's
yeah.
Like that's what it is. Like, you haven't spent enough time. You shouldn't have even looked at this. Cat Turd is talking about Somalis. You should have checked that out instead.
Yeah, we should be covering the war on fraud instead of this. We shouldn't even be talking about this. That's right. Thanks for reminding me. Unfortunately, it's too late. All right, what about the big man? What about Donald Trump himself? So here's Liz Landard. She tweets out, a few minutes after the Pentagon briefing wrapped, I spoke with President Trump briefly to ask about the latest with Iran. I asked about Lebanon still being hit and if he'd seen that. Yeah, they were not included in the deal. I asked why not and if they should have been. POTUS, because of Hezbollah. They were not included in the deal. That'll get taken care of too. It's all right. It's all right, he says. We just did a segment showing the horror unleashed upon Beirut. Hundreds.
He's a
dead.
short bus mafia don.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all right. Nothing to worry about. I asked, and you're okay with the Israelis continuing to hit them? It's part of the deal. Everyone knows that. That's a separate skirmish, he says. That's a separate skirmish. Okay, you got to talk faster. That's a separate skirmish.
He likes words like that, though. He called what he called the Iran war. We took a little excursion, took a little detour, stuff like that. He loves to minimize it.
Yeah, a separate skirmish, he says. I tried to ask, meaning the journalist, if he regretted that Truth Social post about wiping out a civilization, and noted there was huge pushback to that statement from Democrats. Then he hung up. So that's how that went. So no clarification from the White House, the VP, or the presidency. And of course, here's Carolyn Levitt parroting the line, Lebanon is not part of the ceasefire.
Would President Trump like to see Lebanon included in this peace deal? As you know, there's been increased Israeli strikes on Lebanon today with dozens of casualties there.
Sure. Lebanon is not part of the ceasefire. That has been relayed to all parties involved in the ceasefire. As you know, Prime Minister Netanyahu put out a statement last night in support of the ceasefire, in support of the United States' efforts, and he's also assured the president they'll continue to be a helpful partner throughout the course of the next 2 weeks.
Is there any thought, though, that the president might like to see Lebanon included at a future date, given that it seems to be causing or potentially undermining the Iran ceasefire?
Again, this will continue to be discussed, I am sure, between the president and Prime Minister Netanyahu, the United States and Israel, and all of the parties involved. But at this point in time, they're not included in the ceasefire deal.
Just unbelievable. Just unbelievable. They're not included in the ceasefire deal. The ceasefire deal that we're not allowed to see what's in this 10-point plan. So I don't know if she's referring to it's all a big black box here, because when they say the ceasefire deal, are they referring to the 10-point plan? We do know that Pakistan took the lead in brokering this ceasefire deal. And here is the Pakistani ambassador to the United States essentially saying that, yeah, Lebanon was supposed to be included in this ceasefire.
Has continued to attack Israel, has continued to attack Lebanon, saying it is not part of this ceasefire, despite your Prime Minister, Sharif, saying it is. Can you clarify what the parties of this war have agreed to there? And are you concerned Israel could derail the broader ceasefire agreement at this point?
Well, as the description and understanding has come from the highest level in Pakistan, so it could not have been more authentic in terms of the offer made by the Prime Minister and accepted by the two conflicting parties of affording a ceasefire for 2 weeks.
And once again, here is the statement that he is referring to there. An immediate ceasefire everywhere, including Lebanon, and elsewhere effective immediately. So is the administration lawyering it by saying, well, yeah, that may have been his statement, but that's not in the 10-point plan? Assuming there is a 10-point plan, we're not allowed to see exactly which 10-point plan they're talking about here. So you see the games that we're
being jerked around.
Yeah,
I forget who I heard say it, and it's not an original thought, so I can't take credit for it. But Trump has like these infinite white rabbits that he can pull out of a hat. You know, at any time to jack with the markets, to do manipulation, to move troops around, to do whatever. I mean, look at the prediction markets alone. I mean, those should all be massively illegal, but that's what he does. He plays these games. We're being led around by our nose. They're going to see how much they can get away with during this time period. Really going to be bombing the crap out of Lebanon, occupying the crap out of Lebanon. And, you know, like, I wonder what's going on in Gaza right now as well. You know, I'm not hearing a lot of reporting on that right now.
There was just a bombing in Gaza, actually. I think 10 killed, you know, dozens injured. I mean, just horrific. Absolutely
maybe
out of
that's
control.
The goal of all of this is just to make everything so horrible all around that, you know, the continuation of the genocide and extermination campaign against the Palestinian people can be carried out. And they want all those people dead. They don't even want them displaced. They want them gone. Okay, imagine we live in air conditioning. We live with cheap gas, relatively. We live in an economy wrapped in luxury. And these people literally live in a burned out parking lot that used to be a vibrant city. It's as big as, it's pretty much the size of Austin, which is why I'm so sensitive to it. Imagining in Austin where I can't leave, where there are armed guards that roll in on tanks and kill like my wife, kill my children. And then once we're all gone, they put on, these people are so sick in the IDF, they put on the lingerie of the women that they've killed or displaced or taken to prison once they've cleared the house, and they take photos in it like it's a trophy. And Destiny goes over there, Stephen Bonnell, and everyone wants to, the legitimate debater or whatever. That guy's a complete clown, a complete fraud. He goes over there and helps them commit war crime. He instructs them on how not to get caught. And I just, while this is happening, I can't help but think of the Palestinian people, and I hope some of them are able to find some peace today.
Yeah, no, it is just, it's just an absolute nightmare. An absolute nightmare. When here's the ambassador to Pakistan going on.
Level in Pakistan, so it could not have been more authentic in terms of the offer made by the Prime Minister and accepted by the two conflicting parties of affording a ceasefire for 2 weeks. So it could not have been more authentic, and the understandings associated with it could not have been more true. But of course, this is a situation of a ceasefire that could be disrupted, and there have been instances in the past where ceasefires have been disrupted. So we perhaps would all want for the best to happen.
So you're confirming that, as far as the Prime Minister is concerned, that Lebanon is included in this ceasefire, despite what we have heard from the Prime Minister's office in Israel today?
Well, as Pakistan is a faithful facilitator, I think the understandings coming from the highest level in Pakistan need to be accorded primacy and certainly authenticity.
So the answer is yes. Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah, and he's saying yes without actually saying yes.
Yeah.
I think he's afraid if he actually says yes, they'll shut down the embassy and throw him out of the country probably. But that's as close as you're going to get to a yes, and it's obvious. It's obvious. So here, good catch by DD Geopolitics here, confirmed the White House reviewed and approved a social media post by Pakistan's Prime Minister, Shehbaz Sharif, which explicitly stated that Lebanon was part of the ceasefire agreement. However, after Israel bombed Lebanon, the Trump administration backtracked, claiming that Lebanon had not been included in the deal. So not only are they lying about the Pakistani Prime Minister's statement, but now it seems like they pre-approved that statement, which means they were well aware of what was in it. So the New York Times reports White House knew about Pakistan's ceasefire post on X before it was sent. Pakistan's Prime Minister posted a public plea on X for President Trump to extend his Tuesday evening deadline for Iran. The White House was directly involved in shaping the message. So the message that said explicitly in writing, this applies everywhere, including Lebanon, was not only posted, but reviewed and shaped by the White House, according to reporting by the New York Times. The White House had already seen and signed off on the statement before Mr. Sharif posted it. That post, once again, explicitly spelling out Lebanon was to be included in the ceasefire.
So is it a matter of them not caring? Is it a matter of them literally being like schizophrenic and forgetting? Is it a matter of them changing their mind or being told to change their mind by the Israelis? It's a real crapshoot today with the news. It really is. We don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's baffling. It's baffling. Like I said, like you said, we're just getting the runaround. We're just getting jerked around here. So Zard Sigana tweets out, breaking: Pakistan exposes Israel's heinous and criminal attacks on Lebanon, which killed multiple innocent people. Lebanon is part of the ceasefire between Iran and the U.S. achieved today by Pakistan, and Israel is attempting to sabotage it. So here's a diplomat from Pakistan at the UN.
Is a country of remarkable diversity. Lebanon is a country of remarkable diversity, shaped by layers of civilization and a rich cultural and historical legacy. Its people have long shown resilience in the face of adversity, preserving a vibrant social fabric rooted in coexistence among communities and traditions. Lebanon needs a period of calm to pursue its objectives of peace and stability. The renewed escalation and hostilities are a matter of great concern. They threaten far more than infrastructure. They endanger civilian life and risk reversing the fragile political and security progress Lebanon had begun to make preceding the current crisis. In this context, allow me to make 4 points. First, Pakistan reiterates its full support for the sovereignty, unity, and territorial integrity of Lebanon. We condemn in the strongest terms Israel's continued military aggression in southern Lebanon, which has resulted in the death of more than 400 civilians, including at least 83 children and 42 women, and over 600,000 people displaced. Sweeping illegal evacuation orders across large parts of southern Lebanon have deepened civilian suffering. The large-scale destruction of civilian infrastructure and the blatant disregard for international humanitarian law must cease immediately. Second, the use of force must remain the exclusive prerogative of the Lebanese state through its legitimate institutions. In this regard, the Lebanese armed forces play a central role, and Pakistan supports efforts to strengthen their capacity and operational effectiveness. Pakistan welcomes the efforts of the government of Lebanon to restore stability and strengthen state authority, including the cabinet decision of 2nd March to reinforce national security structures. We also note Lebanon's de-escalation initiatives, including the 4-point plan advanced by its leadership to restore calm and stability. Third, Pakistan strongly condemns attacks on UN peacekeepers serving with UNIFIL, who have been injured in Israeli strikes. Peacekeepers operating under the UN flag carry out a vital mandate authorized by the Council. Their safety and security must be guaranteed at all times.
Okay, so we don't have to play the whole thing, but you get the picture there.
Sure.
And people were commenting on X when they saw these videos and scenes out of Lebanon that they were very reminiscent of these scenes out of Gaza that we've been seeing, because it is a similar campaign. Now, Lebanon is a formidable state. It's not fish in a barrel the way the Palestinians in Gaza are because of that dynamic. But the intent is pretty much identical. And you could tell that from what we've seen. And when you hear this man here talk about attacks on UN personnel and peacekeepers, it sounds like you're talking about Palestine. Sounds
Sure.
exactly the
I
same.
mean, what that reminds me of is, of course, the heinous attack on those Red Crescent workers, right? I believe it was 13 that were killed, and it was all captured on cell phone video. They initially claimed that they were like enemy combatants or whatever, and then they just stopped addressing it. I mean, we're seeing that everywhere, man.
Yep. And so just to cap her on this, Vance says it's bizarre that Iran would want the war to continue over its desire to protect a foreign country, Lebanon, that has nothing to do with them. Meanwhile, the official bipartisan U.S. policy for decades has been and still is that the U.S. will go to war to protect Israel.
Wait.
Yeah.
Can you read that first sentence again, please?
Vance says it's bizarre that Iran would want the war to continue over its desire to protect a foreign country, Lebanon, that has nothing to do with them.
Well, wouldn't that apply to U.S. and Israel and the initial strikes as well?
Of course.
It's so insane, bro. Sorry to interrupt there. I just
No,
there you
that's
go.
the irony. That's the irony. I don't know, why would Iran want to continue this war over Lebanon, a country that has nothing to do with them? We're screaming the same thing here, my man. That's most of the country. Most of this country here is saying we're doing this for Israel and Israel only, and we want it to end.
I mean,
it's
Keaton,
extraordinary.
it was, at least for like a period of 2 weeks, it was $11,500 a second. Okay.
Yeah.
So you think about that, and you think about the fact we only got 35,000 or like 40,000 homeless veterans. You could give them all like 10 mansions.
Oh, yeah. We could have
It's
ended
insane.
homelessness easily for the cost of this war. $1 billion a day. That's how you know inflation's tough. I remember when the Iraq war was costing $250 million a day, and we thought that was a lot. See, back when I was your age, we used to fight wars for $250 million a day.
Wow.
That's back when I was.
And a lot more
when I was your
inefficient. And
age.
like that's the thing, really, like why y'all show, especially what y'all have talked about, like Ukraine war coverage and stuff, among others that I started following like a few years or several years back. We talk about these things on the right, or traditionally do, like, we don't need to pay for anybody's health care. Pay for yourself. Take care of yourself.
Right.
Well, so you don't want to pay for somebody else's health care, but you're willing to pay for somebody else's war? Make this make sense to me. So the money's getting spent. The argument isn't we can't spend the money. The money's being spent. But what is the money being spent on? And these people, they'll be against any sort of social policy, any sort of child care, and any sort of maternity leave, even any sort of health care in general. And me, myself, like, we disagree on this probably. I'm a pro-life person. That's just my opinion. But I think it's completely insane that we tell people to have kids in a country that doesn't take care of young people. You know, and it doesn't take care of young families, young mothers. So how on earth are you going to have this pseudo-Christian platform where you're like, everything we're doing is holy, we're in this holy war, it's all to benefit the people around the world, we're going to liberate them? How about you liberate the people here? Seriously, it's insane. $10 trillion if you take the cutting of the corporate tax rate, the Ukraine war, and then Afghanistan and Iraq. You cannot tell me that if we had spent that money here at home, that we would be worse off. You can't, even if everyone here was given subsidies to eat Twinkies all day, if it meant that millions of people over there weren't dead, and if it meant that we actually had prosperity over here, I mean, we could live in a serious utopia, man. And I'm not trying to be too white pill, too delusional, but this is the stuff that makes me so mad. I thought I was voting for multipolarity, but not like this. It turns out I got what I asked for, but it was a monkey's paw. You see.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, you could end homelessness. There are estimates, who knows? Now with inflation, maybe it's more. But used to be, the consensus was you can end homelessness in America for $25 billion, which means that, yeah, for the cost of this war, you could easily have ended homelessness. And it just is a reflection of the priorities of the society that we allow these ills to be continued here at home, while just constantly drumming the population up into a war fever. And it hasn't worked this time. And I think the reason it hasn't worked this time is multi-pronged. I think there are many facets to it, but ultimately I think Iraq war fatigue is the prime example. I think it's too fresh in the minds of too many people how we were bullshitted into something that never should have happened, and this is even worse.
Sure, and even for someone like me, I'm 23 here. I've seen the wreckage of these wars my entire life. I've met tons of these veterans. You meet all these people. You see the homeless people on the street that should be taken care of, that are out there. And I touch on, I'm just in Austin. I see a lot of really sad stuff all the time, man. And I see all this, and then I see the people up on the hill up in DC and whatever, and they're living inside their the Truman Show TV show. You know, they're totally disconnected from the country. And like, for us, it's not just rhetoric. For us, it's not just something we say. For us, it's our principles. We actually care about our brothers and sisters in America, but also just around the world. You know, and to just see these people that claim to be Christian, that claim to love God, that use Jesus Christ and invoke his holy name, they do things that are completely antithetical to my religion, to our religion in general. And I'm a wicked person. I'm the worst of all sinners, as we all are in my Christian theology and my worldview. I'm not saying that I'm this great person, but these people that parade around, like Paula White, that lady shows up in like the Red Devil suit, and she's like speaking in tongues and like praying over Trump. And it's demonic. It's satanic. I know that y'all are a bit secular over here or whatnot, but it's a real spirit of evil. And you have to understand this spirit of evil to deal with it. This is not just some like, it's a material thing. There's a material reason for it. There's a malaise over all of these people where they think if they sacrifice enough dead bodies, they'll get what they want. And that's a very old human condition, human mental illness. That's why they used to cut people's hearts out on pyramids. It's the same exact thing. They think they can invoke the god of the stock market, the god of war, the god of all these things to come and save them from the corruption that they've created and the decline that they've created. It's not going to work. All they're going to do is burn everything down, but they hope in burning everything down that there's no one left to hold them accountable. And they're willing to take that deal. You see how that all works together? That's my thought process on these people.
Yeah. No, that is very, very well said. Very well said. Indeed. All right, we got 2128 in the YouTube chat. All right.
Yo, Rex Jones News on Twitter. I'm sorry, Rex Jones News on Twitter. Give me a follow if you want to.
Yeah, go follow Rex Jones News on Twitter and also subscribe to his YouTube channel. Jezzy, I know you put the link in there, but see if you could pin the link for me, Jezzy, please, if you could do that. It's youtube.com/GrayAreaTalk. So go ahead and smash that subscribe button over there. So yeah, if Jezzy, you could pin that in the chat so people can click on it. That would be Amazing. Thank you for that. Very, very much. All right. I got just a brief word to tell you about here. So let me take care of this. Where are we at here? Here we go. All right, folks. So here's a little inside scoop that a lot of us Rumble creators are talking about, both behind the scenes and now we've been rolling this out to you fine people over these past few weeks. It's one of the reasons we use Rumble as much as we do, because they've made a way to super chat us creators so that we get paid immediately and without any fees. So while YouTube and Twitch take up to 50% fees when you tip creators, this method takes none. That's right. The platform takes 0 fees. We keep nearly 100% of what you send us. You can super chat us with Bitcoin, Tether USD, or even Tether Gold stable coins. The tip will show up directly on the Rumble chat, which of course we read throughout the show in between segments, and it works the exact same way that you Rumble rant us now. Same way to send a Rumble rant as now. The only difference is right before you send it, it'll ask, do you want to send that Rumble rant in USD or through your Rumble wallet? Simple. No added steps. All you got to do is download the Rumble wallet on the App Store and send the tips to your favorite creators like us and Rex. Rex is on Rumble as well. So you can go to wallet.rumble.com or you can download the app directly from the App Store. Seriously, what an amazing way to get rid of the middleman and help the creator economy. So shout out to Rumble for making this disruptive technology. That's wallet.rumble.com. QR code is up on the screen. You could scan that or you can download it from the App Store. That's wallet.rumble.com.
Could I throw something in really quick?
Of course.
If there's anyone out there that takes a melatonin product, like a sleep product, anything like a magnesium, a GABA, a valerian root, I have a really high quality, amazing sleep blend called Knockout Sleep Support. Hundreds of thousands of units sold. Used to be InfoWars Life. I have it relabeled. 50% off.com. I guarantee, like, I'll beat the price if you're buying like melatonin and magnesium together already. It's the best formula on the market. People have loved it for decades. That's 50% off.com. That's my day job. Like I'm an American employer, a small business. I run a fulfillment center. I do supplement manufacturing. That's what I've been doing for 5 years. So
yeah, I know you doing the supplements. Valerian root. I've heard about valerian root. I took melatonin before. I've taken.
Yeah, I'll send you guys some free ones if you want to try the Knockout. It's a really high quality formula. I've also got CBD on jonescbd.com as well.
Oh, you got CBD? Oh, I've taken CBD many times. I would love some CBD.
Okay, I promise to send you a care package. We'll do that after the show.
All right, there we go. We'll work it out. All right. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. All right. Let's move on here. What do we got? Some super chats in Rumble Ranch. John Olmstead, all this to justify boots on the ground. Yeah, it seems like the direction we're heading is just more war. Doesn't seem like any of these negotiations have sticking points. Race car, thanks for the $20. Appreciate the super sticker. Doug Ritchie, Caitlin Johnston this morning. You can have peace or Israel. You can't have both. Yep, that's a banger. Brad Gilbert, Lebanon like Gaza, flattening to you, brought by Palantir.
Palantir. Like my Palantir.
There you go. Look at that. There it is. Just testing their domestic terrorist targeting system for you. Exactly. That surveillance, that comes home as well. Brad Gilbert, agree with Ant from Ohio. 10 minutes to write chats. Could be tough. Try Rumble, I guess. Kenman, great to see Russ back on the show, Keaton, and he looks so energetic and youthful. Maybe less hair, but I'd say China has been good to him. Good one, Kenman. Nocturnal Human, Joe Kent was just on the Duran, if you want to look at that. Oh, okay. Ooh. Michael Tracy actually interviewed Joe Kent, too.
Wow, what a character that guy is. I can't pin him down sometimes. He's out there saying a variety of things.
He is a character. That guy, he is nothing if not a character. That's for sure. We really need Reza Pahlavi right now. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Andy Gardner.
The Shah will save us. No, he's right. He's right. We need Squidward to come in and run the country. Very important.
Yeah, he does look like Squidward. That's true. He looks just like him. I call Reza Pahlavi the Maryland man. Yeah.
Yes.
Maryland dad, Reza Pahlavi, is going to go over to Iran now. Torska says, you guys make a solid team. It seems broadcast talent runs in the family, Rex. Oh, that's a very nice compliment. Wish I could say the same about you, Keaton, but your dad's TV was taking pictures of him. Thank you. Yeah, I had to learn it myself. My dad did have a public a radio show. He did a radio show for a while because his friend was out in the Hudson Valley. My dad's friend used to host that show. I don't know if it broadcasted nationally. It was called Street Court with Judge Mazzarella. Like a guy on like Channel 11, he would, it was all set up in advance. But basically, the premise of the show was a reality show where he would walk around the city and people who would get into like petty disputes on the streets of New York would litigate their case to the street judge. And then the street judge would rule in favor, one or the other. So that guy used to have a small talk show. And when he had to go work on a case, because he was a judge in real life, or I forget what he was. Maybe he did the law. I forget what he did. But my dad took over his show for a while. So my dad has some broadcast experience, but he's no Alex Jones, that's for sure. Kuznetsky Basane, free Iran, Lebanon, Gaza, Palestine, not allowed by YouTube to say much else. Thank you, Kuznetsky Basane. Appreciate that. Okay, we're going to move right on along now. All right, so I talked about this. I referenced this earlier in the stream. The kind of thing that, in a sane society would be a huge story, especially in liberal media, because what was the liberal fixation about Donald Trump throughout his first term? He colluded with a foreign power. Right. He's doing the bidding of a foreign power. A foreign power has undue influence on our policy making. Well, the New York Times just put this out a couple days ago. How Trump took the U.S. to war with Iran. In a series of Situation Room meetings, President Trump weighed his instincts against the deep concerns of his vice president and a pessimistic intelligence assessment. Here's the inside story of how he made the fateful decision. So this was a long article. We're obviously not going to read all of it, but I'll get to some of the main points here. The black SUV carrying Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu arrived at the White House just before 11 a.m. on February 11th. The Israeli leader, who had been pressing for months for the United States to agree to a major assault on Iran, was whisked inside with little ceremony, out of view of reporters, primed for one of the most high-stakes moments in his long career. U.S. and Israeli officials gathered first in the cabinet room, adjacent to the Oval Office. Then Mr. Netanyahu headed downstairs for the main event, a highly classified presentation on Iran for President Trump and his team in the White House Situation Room, which was rarely used for in-person meetings with foreign leaders. Mr. Trump sat down, but not in his usual position at the head of the room's mahogany conference table. Instead, the president took a seat on one side, facing the large screens mounted along the wall. Mr. Netanyahu sat on the other side, directly opposite the president. Appearing on the screen behind the prime minister was David Barnea, the director of Mossad, Israel's foreign intelligence agency, as well as Israeli military officials. Arrayed visually behind Mr. Netanyahu, they created the image of a wartime leader surrounded by his team. Once again, I want you to substitute Israel for Russia. Imagine a president had Vladimir Putin come into the Situation Room, sit directly across the table from him, and had Russian spies projected onto a screen behind him so as to create the impression of a wartime leader and his team in our White House Situation Room. And that's just the beginning. The New York Times, 2 days ago. Tell me in a sane country this wouldn't be the huge story that everyone's talking about. In the Situation Room on February 11th, Mr. Netanyahu made a hard sell, suggesting that Iran was ripe for regime change and expressing the belief that a joint U.S.-Israeli mission could finally bring an end to the Islamic Republic. At one point, the Israelis played for Mr. Trump a brief video that included a montage of potential new leaders who could take over the country if the hardline government fell. Among those featured was Reza Pahlavi, the exiled son of Iran's last Shah, now a Washington-based dissident who had tried to position himself as a secular leader who could shepherd Iran toward a post-theocratic government. Mr. Netanyahu and his team outlines conditions as they portrayed as pointing to near certain victory. Iran's ballistic missile program could be destroyed in a few weeks. The regime would be so weakened that it could not choke off the Strait of Hormuz, and the likelihood that Iran would land blows against U.S. interests in neighboring countries was assessed as minimal. None of that turned out to be true. Literally none of it. Point for point, the opposite ended up happening. Mr. Netanyahu delivered his presentation in a confident monotone. It seemed to land well with the most important person in a room, the American president. Sounds good to me, Mr. Trump told the prime minister. To
Sounds
Mr. Netanyahu,
good to me. I mean,
sounds good to me. You sold me.
Man.
Yeah. You would think a salesman like Trump would have like better sales resistance. You know, you would think like a bullshitter would be able to sense that he's being bullshitted.
Oftentimes the greatest salesmen are often the easiest to sell to, you know, because like he thinks everything he's involved in is great, and he thinks he's already involved with Bibi Netanyahu. So if Bibi Netanyahu, his great friend who has the tapes of him, you know, doing whatever he did to those otters, you know,
right.
on Epstein Island, whatever sort of insane sexual act he committed, he's just going to do what he says. And when Netanyahu tells him to jump, he asks how high, and he puts on knee pads. The knee pad is the new MAGA hat. I've been thinking about this. Like, there's like the low IQ joke. I don't agree with this. Like, I love women. They're saying, oh, new MAGA hat's a tampon. I don't say that. I don't agree with that. I think new MAGA hat is knee pads, right? Because that's what Trump himself puts on. Just like Trump puts on the Gulf of America hat or the MAGA hat, he puts on the knee pads whenever Netanyahu comes to town. And we're talking about the widespread approval for this within our own government in the article. When Netanyahu goes to Congress, they can't agree on anything else. They always make a big show of standing up and sitting down, Democrat, Republican, vice versa. He gets like 20 standing ovations. So like he's our real president. And like, I don't know why we don't just acknowledge that and just talk about that all the time. Like, our real president is thousands of miles away, and it's a Hunger Games situation. We're all the districts, and they're the capital. That's literally what it is.
Oh yeah. Sounds good to me, Mr. Trump told the prime minister. To Mr. Netanyahu, this signaled a likely green light for a joint U.S.-Israeli operation. Later on in the article, Mr. Netanyahu's presentations and Mr. Trump's positive response to them created an urgent task for the U.S. intelligence community. Overnight, analysts worked to assess the viability of what the Israeli team had told the president. The results of the U.S. intelligence analysis were shared the following day, February 12th, in another meeting for only American officials in the Situation Room. Before Mr. Trump arrived, two senior intelligence officials briefed the president's inner circle. When Mr. Trump joined the meeting, Mr. Ratcliffe briefed him on the assessment. This is CIA Director John Ratcliffe. Yes. The CIA director used one word to describe the Israeli prime minister's regime change scenarios: farcical.
And Rubio has to explain it. He has to explain what that means to Trump, because Trump doesn't know what farcical means.
Yeah. At that point, Mr. Rubio cut in. In other words, it's bullshit. He says, yeah, he should. That would have been funny.
That's how you know it's real.
Yeah.
Like, this is Dumb and Dumber. This is how they talk.
So what he means by farcical, Mr. President, is bullshit. That's what he's trying to say. In other words, it's bullshit. Several others jumped in, including Mr. Vance, just back from Azerbaijan, who also expressed strong skepticism about the prospect of regime change. Notice Vance always has some other country to be in when shit goes down. Like, notice Vance during the day, what was it, 2 days ago? Yeah, it feels like a year ago already, when we thought the world was going to end. He was in Hungary, right, campaigning for Viktor Orban.
Well, he's got to be a globetrotter and get those steps in. The rumor is Trump put him on Ozempic because he was too fat.
Yeah, maybe that's the idea. Or maybe the chief of staff, Susie Wiles, wants to keep J.D. Vance as far away from Trump as she can, because he is supposedly a dissenting anti-war voice. Although I'm not buying that much anymore either, because every time he gets in front of a camera, what does he do? He toes the line. He does what he has to do. He's a good little boy.
You have 3 last names. You have 3 last names.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we all, like, I have 8 last names. I know somebody's got 24 last names. Just change your name 24 times, whatever. Change your name 3 times. That's nothing.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That's normal. People just do that every other day.
Oh yeah. Several others jumped in, including Mr. Vance, just back from Azerbaijan, who also expressed strong skepticism about the prospect of regime change. The president then turned to General Kane. General, what do you think? General Kane replied, "Sir, this is, in my experience, standard operating procedure for the Israelis. They oversell, and their plans are not always well developed. They know they need us, and that's why they're hard selling." Nobody in Trump's inner circle was more worried about the prospect of war with Iran or did more to try to stop it than the vice president. Mr. Vance had built his political career opposing precisely the kind of military adventurism that was now under serious consideration. He had described the war with Iran as a huge distraction of resources and massively expensive. So here's Megyn Kelly's take on this. Every other president was able to see through that liar. She can't understand why Trump couldn't.
Learn it. And so what led Trump, at 79 years old, to sit in there in that situation room when Bibi Netanyahu was seated as an equal?
Yeah.
Trump didn't even sit at the head of the table. Trump sat at the side of the table, and Bibi was across from him as an equal in the American Situation Room. What led him to sit there and buy what that guy was selling hook, line, and sinker when every other president was able to see through that liar? What was it? Because he was told the next day by our own top advisors, from the chairman of the Joint Chiefs to the Secretary of State to the vice president, that these are lies and that these objectives are not going to be attainable. Don't believe him. We might be able to wipe out the Ayatollah, not regime change, Ayatollah. And we might be able to decimate some portion of their missiles and their military. Okay, that's true. But the goals as stated by Trump when we actually did pull the trigger were all over the board. And to this moment, he's pushing the BS claim that we affected regime change. No, we didn't. It's the same regime, just different players. There isn't somebody more moderate in there at all. We have no reason to believe that. In fact, it looks like the Iranian Revolutionary Guard is in control now, which is far more radical. And the fatwa that had allegedly been issued by the Ayatollah on developing nukes is gone. Iran is more powerful economically. It controls the strait and now is demanding the lifting of all sanctions against it. And what Trump did with that 10-point plan was go from Monday saying, no, not good, to Tuesday saying, very workable, we can do it, as a means of saving face to bail off of his insane threats about annihilating an entire civilization. So I don't know how we got here, Piers. I'd like to know just as much as anybody else, but all I can think in my head, based on what I've read in the paper, is we got here thanks to Bibi Netanyahu, Lindsey Graham, and Mark Levin. And ultimately President Trump. That's not to take agency away from the president, who was bamboozled. I don't know why. He was too weak to say no. He was too gullible to see through the lies. One way or another, he allowed himself to be pushed into this insane conflict.
So she doesn't know why. She has no guess. You know who does have a guess why? Dave in Las Vegas. C-SPAN caller Dave in Las Vegas. This war in Iran, he only went in because he's probably a PDF file. So this is a caller into C-SPAN, has a bit more of a guess than Megyn Kelly as to how Israel was able to twist Donald Trump's arm into the Iran war.
Is in Las Vegas, independent. Go ahead.
Good morning. First of all, this war in Iran, he only went in there because he's probably a pedophile, and people don't want to admit it, but he is. He just pardoned a 53-year-old person that raped and molested a 9-year-old girl, and he's breaking every law in the book. He is not a president. He is a dictator. He does not go by the Constitution, and everything he went into Iran about, he's doing here. He's murdering our own people. They murdered him. Trump and Herzog murdered those girls in Iran with a missile, and it wasn't a mistake. Herzog said he's going to kill everybody. So that's what Trump's doing. He's not going by the Constitution. And when he kills our own people over a misdemeanor in Minnesota and nobody cares, we're in big trouble. This guy is out of his mind.
That's Dave.
That's Dave. That's Dave from Las Vegas. Dave from Las Vegas has a guess. Megyn Kelly doesn't have a guess. Yeah, I mean, look, it's unknowable. it's unprovable at this point. But yeah, obviously you have to ask yourself why Trump was the one person who didn't tell Israel no. Tucker has been, making a lot of sense lately, but one of the things that he said that was not entirely true in one of his most recent broadcasts is that no American president has ever been able to tell Israel no. Now, that's partially true, of course. You may even say that's mostly true in the sense that no American president has cut off Israel the way they should. But it is also true, as per all the reporting we've seen, up to and including this, which is probably the most persuasive of them all, other presidents and other Americans were able to smell bullshit on the Israelis when they pitched war with Iran. Trump was the first one to actually tell them yes and greenlight it. And I believe, my opinion, of course, it is because he is compromised in some way that perhaps Dave was talking about on C-SPAN.
Well, he's a part of the movement, right? Like, he's a part of that transnational capital interest, Zionist state, whatever you want to call it. That's his team. And, we thought he played for a different team. That was our mistake over on the right. But at least a lot of us now realize, and we're trying to take a stand against it. And I mean, what you just revealed with the New York Times article, I mean, that's everything right there. And you're right. This would be a massive political scandal that would end his presidency or prime ministership if it was any other country. But because it's here and because people are just tuned into him and what he says and the narrative that he creates, it's almost like this. I talked about this on the American Journal, and it's almost like this. In the old days, you had like 2 or 3 channels and it was the same thing. Then you get cable, then you get the internet, then you get just kind of infinite mobility. You can check anything out at any time. It's almost like now they try to put you under this spell and make you submit to their news cycle, to where like whether you're a Fox News program person or a cat turd program person, it's all the same. It doesn't matter whether it's old media, traditional media, or new media now, social media, online. If they can get you into one of these echo chambers where your sources are literal like Mossad agents on the internet telling you what to think and what to do, and even probably interacting with you and making you feel like, you're a part of the holy movement, whatever. I mean, there really is no saving those people, save the fact that you can hopefully pull the wool out from over their eyes and show them what's really going on. Like it really is a psychological warfare campaign, a psychological warfare operation. I mean, we've got people that supported us for like a decade plus, like that got brought on during Trump. And I just looked at my notifications and I had a guy take a photo of his refrigerator with like 20 InfoWars bumper stickers on it. And you're like, what the F, Rex? Like, how dare you? You're betraying everything he stood for, the dear leader, the Trump, because it's all about Trump. And I don't know how to break those people free from that spell, because to me, the reason why I talk about what I talk about, the reason why I do what I do is because it's easy. Right? Like, this is just what I was raised to believe since I was a little kid. I was taught to not trust the government, to not go to war, and to care about my rights and the rights of everybody else around me. And I thought that was the message that we always embodied. And it is, because that's what you see my dad, when push comes to shove, when this war happens, being very calling for 25th Amendment. Literally, people want to say bought off by the Israelis. I don't think so. Absolutely not. But people will come for us now. They're coming for our neck. And it's heartbreaking, because it's like old Yeller type situation where you have like kind of these people that are rabid and you don't really know if there's a cure for that disease. I don't know what it's like on the left, because the left, like the people with brains on the left, have always been anti-colonialist. And whether that's a little bit of programming to do kind of like the race war thing here in America or whatever, that could also be a factor. But the reason why you see just an outpouring of outrage and anger and not accepting this on the left is because they've been raised on a diet of anti-colonialism. And this is the ultimate colonial project. You want to talk about white people 100, 200 years ago, right? Like, the Israelis are killing them right now, like for Amalek, for the goal of biblical genocide. So it's everything that they've been trained to recognize and to be against, just speaking broadly for that side, not trying to put everybody in a box. And from my perspective as like a libertarian, a constitutional conservative, classical liberal, whatever I want to call myself, I look at it as it's the ultimate violation of everybody's rights. And that's why I'm against it. So I feel like that's where we can build this coalition together, of people like your audience, maybe people like mine, but I got people from everywhere. I describe it as radical centrism. We take good things from the left, we take good things from the right, In my opinion, that'd be First and Second Amendment activism, stuff like that. And then for the left, like, we need socialized care. We need healthcare in this country. It's absolutely outrageous that we don't have it. If we can just build a platform based off that, but really the tenet of being anti-war and anti-PDF file, I think we could truly save the country. But it's bringing those, it's like 20% of people on the right, 20% of people on the left. It's bringing that 40% together and then just getting the rest of the people that are uninformed in our camp. I just don't think we can do anything about the people that are entrenched, whether that's a hillbot or like a cat turd.
Well, yeah. I mean,
that's how I see it. Do you kind of see what I'm?
Oh, sure.
I'm
No,
laying down?
absolutely. No, I mean, look, I think that makes a ton of sense. Obviously, I think what you said there about the left being sort of steeped in anti-colonial theory is absolutely correct. And this was one of the things that we noticed right after October 7th, where for a short period of time, not so short depending on where you talk about, but for a relatively short period of time, these student protesters were, getting shit from their professors for going out and protesting for Palestine. And Russ wrote a whole article that the reason why there became that tension between the sort of professor class and their students is because the professors taught their students to be anti-colonial. But at the same time, the professors at these elite universities are so entrenched in the system that they never really interrogated Israel the way they interrogate all other forms of colonialism. And so for a brief moment there was this real tension. And then the students eventually just kind of overwhelmed them. And the student protests, went on through the 2024 campaign. But yeah, no, I mean, and now you have a Democratic Party that is just about 90% anti-Israel. And I think that goes to what you're talking about. That's because of that anti-colonial theory. It wasn't a long leap. Once they were able to see what Israel actually was, which took a minute because no one in the establishment media systems wanted to tell them. But once they got the message, once they got the word, once they saw the picture of what Israel actually was, it wasn't a far leap to condemn them. Whereas, on the right, I think it is a little more complicated journey for some, but not many. And why should it be? I mean, you don't have to be steeped in theory. I'm not steeped in theory. I'm not an academic. I'm a college dropout. You don't have to be steeped in theory to understand mass murder when you see it.
Yes.
You really don't.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And it really is like a black and white issue. I know the show is called The Gray Area, but like when you're dealing with child murder, when you're dealing with the targeting of civilian infrastructure, when you're dealing with wars of aggression, the chief prosecutor at Nuremberg, he said, the crime of the war of aggression is the ultimate war crime because all other war crimes are subsequent and are derivative of it. I'm paraphrasing the last part, but that's the quote. And I understood that from a very young age. My dad made me read stuff from Nuremberg. He made me read like the Versailles Treaty and things like that. He made me understand that the framework of history, this is black and white. This is black and white stuff. You can't do this. And the reason why we have this international law and this framework is because of the horrors and atrocity of both World War I and World War II. And what we're seeing now is going to usher in a new age of that. I mean, look at the New START treaty. We just didn't re-sign that, even though the Russians wanted a year-long extension. Now there's no limit on nuclear weapon proliferation. China's building up. We're retooling. Russia's also retooling as well. Of course, they've got the Iskander and Oreshnik missile and all of that that's also nuclear capable, and they've already tested it in Ukraine. Like it's a complete horror show. And the things that we all should care about are getting rid of these weapons and these massive militaries. There's no reason for them to exist. It's only for the people in power to play these games with our lives and with the lives of the people in this country or these countries, right? Like it's not the people of Gaza or the people of Lebanon's responsibility to live in a certain way that's congruent with like Israeli or American interest, or else they get bombed. Like you submit, you crawl on your belly and kiss our boots, or like we're just going to kill you. You don't want to live. You don't want to live your life. What's wrong with you? And they go to the American citizen, like the dumb fat guy on the chair. They go, they don't want to live. They don't want to live. It's crazy. Why don't they just agree to the peace plan? Right. And all the while, like these people are so brave. And in America, like I said, America and Palestine are both occupied. The Palestinians have had everything taken from them but one thing, and that is their dignity. It is a noble story of a people that are fighting for their land, for their home, for their very existence, for their way of life. That's why this is all genocide. And then over here, we have all the material comforts, all the goods. It's all easy. It's all peaceful. The one thing we don't have is our dignity.
Right.
And you see, they're much more rich than we are, aren't they? When you look
Right.
at it from that perspective, I often think about it like that.
Right. Right. Well said, my friend. Very well said. All right, let's go to a few super chats here. And then we got to talk about the Pope. Ardeen W. Israel spent decades and hundreds of millions of dollars buying up Western politicians, ensuring the politicians stay silent while Israel takes over the world. Thank you. I missed the Trump that was like Dr. Evil, but this one is just plain evil. Thank you, Get Up King. Appreciate that. Michael Castillo says, good afternoon, gentlemen. Keaton, you and Rex are knocking it out of the park. Well, thank you, Michael Castillo. Jamie Foxx does the best Donald Trump. We are all Persia. Thank you for that, my friend. All right. So the Pope has been speaking out against the Iran war. Here's Pope Leo condemning zeal for war, weak multilateralism in speech to diplomats. So this was a while back. Pope Leo the 14th condemned the weakening of international multilateralism and the increased use of force in a speech to diplomats at the Vatican on Friday. This was in January at some point. I forgot to pull the date. I should have. But this was before the Iran war started. He also said states should respect fundamental human rights, such as religious freedom and freedom of speech, and comply with international humanitarian law in the lengthiest speech to date of his pontificate. A diplomacy that promotes dialogue and seeks consensus among all parties is being replaced by a diplomacy based on force by either individuals or groups of allies. War is back in vogue, and a zeal for war is spreading, or zeal, however you say that. He told ambassadors and other diplomatic representatives to the Holy See in the Apostolic Palace on January 9th. Currently, 184 states have diplomatic relations with the Holy See. Quote, peace is no longer sought as a gift and a desirable good in itself, the pontiff continued. Instead, peace is sought through weapons as a condition for asserting one's own dominion. This gravely threatens the rule of law, which is the foundation of all peaceful civil coexistence. So here he is addressing thousands of people in St. Peter's Square. Pope Leo said God does not listen to leaders who start wars and have hands full of blood. So this was back in March. This is now after the
This
war
is what I was
started.
thinking about bringing up. Yep. Exactly.
He did not arm himself or defend himself or fight any war. He revealed the gentle face of God who always rejects violence. Rather than saving himself, he allowed himself to be nailed to the cross, embracing every cross borne in every time and placed throughout human history. Brothers and sisters, this is our God, Jesus, King of Peace, who rejects war, whom no one can use to justify war. He does not listen to the prayers of those who wage war, but rejects them, saying, even though you make many prayers, I will not listen. Your hands are full of blood. So that was in March. But then he got even more direct and called out the Iran war more specifically. Major news, Pope Leo just declared the Iran war unjust, called it a war crime, said it is not solving anything, and told Americans directly, call Congress, end this war. So here he is in English. Pope Leo from Chicago, busting out the English for the American audience.
In English, I would simply say, once again, what I said in the Urbi et Orbi message on Sunday, asking all people of goodwill to search always for peace and not violence, to reject war, especially a war which many people have said is an unjust war, which is continuing to escalate, and which is not resolving anything. In fact, we have a worldwide economic crisis, energy crisis, situation in the Middle East of great instability, which is only provoking more hatred throughout the world. So come back to the table. Let's talk. Let's look for solutions in a peaceful way. And let's remember especially the innocent, children, the elderly, sick, so many people who have already become or will become victims of this continued warfare. To remind all that attacks on civilian infrastructure is against international law, but that it is also a sign of the hatred, the division, the destruction that the human being is capable of. And we all want to work for peace. People want peace. I would invite the citizens of all the countries involved to contact the authorities, political leaders, congressmen, to ask them, tell them to work for peace and to reject war always. Thank you very much.
So, pretty direct statement there. And here's where the plot thickens. So, we have a rule here on the show to not use outlets that are particularly foul and odious unless they have an exclusive on a story, and in which case we have no choice. However, in this case, the Free Press had the exclusive on the story, and even with the exclusive,
very wise.
Well, here's the thing. This is what I mean. Even in this case, we're not going to use the Free Press. Even though it's their story, we're still not going to use them. First of all, it's paywalled, and we ain't paying for that, obviously. So we're gonna use the piggybacked report from the Daily Beast. But this is the tweet here: 2.5 million views. The Trump administration summoned a Vatican diplomat to the Pentagon, and during the tense meeting, a U.S. official invoked the Avignon papacy. On July 4th, the American Pope will be in Lampedusa. He didn't pick that date by accident. We'll see what all that means here. Trump goon gives Vatican bitter lecture amid growing rift. A top Vatican diplomat was summoned to the Pentagon for a bitter lecture demanding that the Pope get behind Donald Trump. It has emerged. Vatican officials briefed on the meeting told the Free Press that one of the Pentagon's most senior officials summoned Cardinal Christophe Pierre to meet in January, then told him that the United States has the military power to do, quote, whatever it wants, and that Pope Leo, the first American-born pontiff, better take its side. So they actually sent a Pentagon strongman to try and, Tony Soprano, Pope Leo. Wow.
Hey, listen, here's the problem. Maybe some of your gold crosses, maybe they go missing. Maybe we think of you that statue of David, Michelangelo did that. That might look good in my crib. But we can work something out. Why you gotta be so tough on us, man? We're just killing a few kids.
Exactly. The site writes that as tensions escalated, one U.S. official went so far as to invoke the Avignon papacy, the period in the 1300s when the French crown leveraged its military power to dominate the papal authority. Wow.
No.
And they went out of their way to threaten the guy because they didn't know that. They didn't have that knowledge. They must have looked that up. Like, hey, what's a historical reference we can use to try and muscle the Pope?
No. I believe it. I believe they had a crazy autistic, and I'm autistic too. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that.
And we all are. I mean,
they have some person with something going on who's very obsessed with religious and historical facts that can rattle it off to the Pope. That's probably what they have. Look at the Doge program for an example.
That's true. They could have had some real history buffs there. They could have called one of them up. I'm sure they would. They could have given them dates and names.
Sure.
Pierre was reportedly summoned to the meeting by Undersecretary of Defense for Policy Elbridge Colby, a Catholic who served in the first Trump administration and was nominated by Trump to his current role. Colby is a close ally of Catholic convert J.D. Vance. Such a meeting between Pentagon officials and the Vatican is believed to be unprecedented. Yeah, I would hope so. The Free Press writes that the Pentagon brass picked apart the pontiff's January speech, which I read excerpts from earlier in the segment, referring to his inaugural State of the World address. They reportedly took issue with a passage in which Leo challenged Trump's so-called Don Roe doctrine, saying a diplomacy that promotes dialogue and seeks consensus among all parties is being replaced by a diplomacy based on force by either individuals or groups of allies. So they took issue with that speech, and they actually sent a guy to set him straight. The bombshell revelation comes as Theo has publicly criticized Trump and his acolytes, first for their deadly, inhumane migrant crackdown, and most recently for the president's threat on Tuesday morning to annihilate all of Iran. Leo's relationship with the Trump administration soured quickly after he was elected on May 8th, writes the Rome-based journalist Mattia Ferraresi. The White House invited Leo to return home and celebrate America's 250th birthday at the White House this summer, but he declines. Wow. They invited the Pope to the UFC fight, and the Pope said, I guess, grazie, but no grazie, you know. Didn't want to come and see a cage match on the White House lawn. Could you imagine the Pope sitting in the front row at a UFC fight for the 250th anniversary of America? That would be an image. Once again, that's the kind of thing that idiocracy
don't like me. They're saying I got a bit of a problem there. How about we put him right next to me during the big fight? He likes the blood. I like the blood. I like to see it fly. Like it's
Trump nudging him with his elbow during the fight. Watch, he's gonna bite his ear off now.
Well, like Trump comes in, he tries to do the thing where he like shakes someone around, where he like shakes their hand and then tries to like judo throw them to the ground. It's just this is a clown car.
Listen, Father.
I was in a Spaces and I was talking to somebody that apparently was in the administration or whatever, is working with him, like a mid-level guy, and I was like, you do know, like you work at like an amusement park. Right, like you work for a clown college. Like you're not a serious person. You're like, well, I'm in here trying to make things happen with JD, and we're working on things. We're looking at things. Y'all aren't looking at anything. Please, they sit on their hands and do as Israel tells them. And then apparently Israel's told them to harass the Pope.
Harass the Pope. Hey, Father, I know, Father, is it Pontiff? I don't know. I'm a very religious person, but I'm not Catholic. I'm not Catholic. We're what they call the WASPs. We're from the waspy side of Queens. You're supposed to wear white because there's going to be some blood splatter coming from the ring in a few minutes. You may want to put on something darker so they don't see the blood on your shirt. That's why I wear a black
You know, I'd love to meet
event.
the Pope, but I can't go inside the church. Every time I take a step in, I start burning up. It's crazy. It's burning up like you've never seen before.
That's some kind of reaction.
Burst into flame.
Some kind of allergic reaction when I step inside the church. I get very hot and itchy. Ferraresi writes that the Holy See considered the invitation, but decided not to make the trip over a mix of foreign policy disagreements, the increasingly vocal opposition of U.S. bishops to Trump's immigration policy, and a reluctance to become a political bargaining chip in the 2026 midterms. Could you imagine ICE wrestling the Pope to the ground when he comes in, not knowing who he is? I don't know who this guy is, coming here in a white cape. What the hell is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. Guy comes in here dressed like a superhero from the 12th century. How do we know who he is?
Like a terrorist to me. Like that's
yeah. Leo is yet to travel stateside since his election and has no public plans to do so. He will instead spend July 4th on the Mediterranean island of Lampedusa, a stopping point for African refugees hoping to reach Europe. Wow, that's a troll. Good for him. One Vatican told the Free Press the Pope may well never visit the United States under this administration. The White House did not respond to a request for comment. A spokesperson for the Defense Department said the Pentagon meeting with Pierre was, quote, respectful and reasonable. Oh, yeah. Hey, look, we told them there's been some robberies in the neighborhood, and we could work something out where that doesn't happen to you. It was very respectful, very reasonable. We had a nice conversation. Nothing against the guy. Christopher Hale, who writes the Letters from Leo Substack, says Letters from Leo can now independently confirm that the meeting took place and that the Vatican was so alarmed by the Pentagon's tactics that Pope Leo XIV shelved plans to visit the United States later this year. Many in the Vatican saw the Pentagon's reference to an Avignon papacy as a threat to use military force. against the Holy See. This is like, it's like someone shorted the Republican Party. You know how when you short a stock, you just bet on it to fucking fail. This is like if you were shorting a political party, this is what you would do. Yeah, let's threaten the Pope. Let's like how many coalitions can we alienate? Which voting blocks have we not alienated yet? I know. Let's go Tony Soprano. Let's go Paulie Walnuts on the Pope because he doesn't support our war that most Americans don't support either.
It is truly incredible what's going on, and they had ancient Chinese emperor's mandate to lead for 1,000 years, mandate from heaven, just as early or just as recently as 2025, and look at where all of that has gone. I mean, I was tuning into y'all really for election coverage in 2024. Y'all are my complete go-to. I was watching every stream all the way through, especially the election night stream, and y'all are doing coverage of it, and I'm like. He's really won. He's really won. I can't believe it. And then he gets into office, and then everything that like y'all talked about with the Russian roulette and the one bullet being empty out of the gun turns out that wasn't the case. So, what do you think about that? I kind of lost my train of thought there a little bit. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I mean that was our metaphor, was that Trump was a wild card, so there was a very, very slight chance that you may survive. For those of you who don't know the Russian roulette metaphor, that is a metaphor for self-harm. In other words, when you play Russian roulette, you experiment with shooting yourself. And so, Kamala Harris was promising to continue the same policies. It didn't seem like there was any chance worth taking on her. And I did not vote for Donald Trump because, again, I didn't see my metaphor as good odds. So, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't think we were going to avoid catastrophe with Trump. And so I voted for Jill Stein. But yeah, no, I mean, you talk about just tanking your brand. Yeah, no, that's what you should do. You should go and strong arm the Pope because he made the kind of speech that like all popes make. Like almost all popes are anti-war and pro-peace. Like this Pope seems kind of based. Pope Francis seemed kind of based in that way. Like popes aren't going to come out and be like, we must fight them over there so we don't have to fight them over here. He's not gonna come out and say that.
Here's the thing.
For 47 years, they have reigned hell, or they have chanted about America. Like, they're always going to make gestures for peace. Why do you feel a need to go out there and strong arm the guy for it? I guess because they wanted him to come here for the 250th anniversary cage match. And so they wanted to make sure that he wasn't going to be a political liability if he comes here for photo ops. Maybe that was it. Who knows? But what a fucking unbelievably stupid thing to do.
Trump's idea of a pastor or a preacher is somebody that comes in on a wire from the top of the stadium. That's his idea of a preacher is someone that asks for like $1,000 seed. His idea of a preacher is someone that speaks in tongues and wears a Red Devil outfit like Paula White at the White House and does like Benny Hinn lightsaber moves to exorcise evil spirits out of people. It's not actually a religious leader. I'm Orthodox, aspiring to be not a Roman Catholic, but like Trump trying to figure out what a church is, trying to figure out the concept of something with thousands of years of history. He doesn't understand 250 years of American history. He doesn't know anything about it at all. So it's like, hey, what's up with this guy? He has the principles that, why don't I just threaten him? That'll work. Right?
Exactly. Yeah,
that's what's going on. He doesn't know what he's dealing with. And American Christianity, I'm not denigrating anybody that's like a Protestant or anything like that, but it is this new kind of Christianity. It's a new sect. It's a new religion where they run things off this Schofield Bible that was bankrolled by a guy named Theodore Herzl, who helped set up the entire Zionist project in the British Mandated Palestine. So it's this faith that was inspired in the year 1915 with the fundamental misinterpretation of Genesis. Now, in Genesis, it says, bless Israel and you'll be blessed, referring to Abraham's seed. What's Abraham's seed to Christians, to people that believe in the New Testament? It's Jesus Christ, because Jesus Christ, according to us Christians, he's the fulfillment of the Old Testament. Okay? So what they're describing is a dead covenant. They're describing a country from 3,000 years ago. That's not relevant to Christian theology. And what I just said is based and correct, and it's the opinion of the Orthodox Church and many other just Christians of various denominations around the world that understand this is a deliberate psychological warfare operation. A whole other aspect of this is the hatred of the Muslim. right? Because that's the perfect boogeyman. That's the caveman they tell you to be scared of, the guy, the Muhammad with the knife or the rocket launcher, when in reality, it's literally a person just like you that's just trying to live their life in their home, but they pray 5 times a day facing Mecca, so we have to kill them. And that's the calculation, because religion to Americans isn't a serious thing. Part of that is us not being under actual war threat ever, not having to worry about invasion. There's no real actual sense of it. It's just somewhere you go dance around on Sunday. Well, that's a mega church or whatever. I'm not denigrating people's faith, and I apologize for doing that. I'm really I'm a fallen person. We're all fallen people. But you have to realize that someone that's serious about being a Christian is serious about ending wars, serious about ending genocide, is serious about ending child murder, because these people, they have what's called eternal souls. Okay, we believe that they're created in the image of God. And that means that they deserve a chance to live their life, to worship God, to be saved, or to die whatever they want to do naturally without some outside malevolent evil force intervening. Let them live their lives. That's too much to ask for. And that's what makes me crash out, because as Christians here in America, Christianity is a thing where we don't follow the practice teachings of Jesus. We just talk about him like we'd like him to be our friend or something. It's my opinion.
Right. No, it's very well said. I like that perspective. As a secular person myself, I don't hear that very often. So no, that was great. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. Daryl Nevi says, wait till Trump administration tries to Maduro the Pope. Yeah, exactly.
We caught him. Yeah,
we got him. EO Shush. I couldn't figure out why Megyn Kelly. Imagine they escort. Imagine you're Maduro and you're sitting in jail in Brooklyn, and they bring the Pope in, and he's your cellmate. You're like, how the hell did you get here? What's going on out there? I couldn't figure out why Megyn Kelly would go scorched earth on Trump and then go 28 days heaping praise, telling us how great Trump is, and then go scorched earth again. It may hit me. She's on her period. Good one. Nocturnal Human. As an autistic, I think everyone who's deep into politics has to be at least a little bit autistic or retarded. Oh, we're all definitely a little autistic.
Sure.
Autistic. Yeah, no doubt about that. No doubt about that. That's why I always had mixed feelings, when they're talking about Maha trying to find a cure for autism. Like, as a podcaster, where would I be without autism? Like, if you took my autism away, what could I do?
Right.
What am I supposed to go? Fix pipes? What am I supposed to go get a real job? I'd have to get a real job if they cured me. The Pope is based. Let's hope and pray we don't see a Thomas Becket, Henry II situation here, but I wouldn't put it past this criminal administration. Yeah.
I'm not that much a history buff. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I'll have to look that up after the show. I'm not that well read.
Says Rex's impersonation of Keaton's impersonation of Trump is spot on. Ha.
Well, the thing is, there's different tones of Trump, and like the Trump that I do is very expressive. It's when he speeds up and is loud, but there's also the little voice he does, little wheel and deal, little tricky time. Like it's complicated. He's a hard impression to do.
It is tough. It is tough because you're right. There are different modes of Donald Trump for sure. All right, we got one more segment of the day. We're here with Rex Jones from the Gray Area, so please go check out the Gray Area on YouTube here. You can subscribe at that
Yes,
link.
please. We do Thursday, Sunday show. It's a 3-hour show. I'm live every day. I'm taking over the American Journal as of this coming week, moving off InfoWars Network. I'm going to be doing a 3-hour daily show, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. And if you want to support me, go to 50percentoff.com. That's 50percentoff.com. I got supplements. I got toothpaste. Check out the knockout on 50percentoff.com.
And you're live tonight, right? On the
Yes,
Gray Area,
it's like you said, the triple header. 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours now.
What time you on later?
3 hours tonight.
What time you on later?
We'll be live at 7:30, I think.
All right, cool. Central. Well, 7:30 Central, so 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific. Well, last segment of the day is featuring a man on the street interview that you actually did in Austin, Texas, breaking Rex versus the Boomer. Watch this fascinating generational street interview and discussion on the Iran war. We did a segment on our last show about Glenn Greenwald versus the Chin Man, Rob Schmidt over there on Newsmax. And I talked about how frustrating it is to hear the war propaganda seemingly echo the war propaganda of the early 2000s. Well, here you see the war propagandized repeating the war propaganda from the early 2000s. So you get a different perspective. So I made a couple of edits here. You can watch this whole exchange on Rex's Twitter. But let's take a look at Rex versus the brainwashed boomer.
As a shitty proposition, but it is a necessary one.
Okay.
Because
so the war is a shitty proposition, but necessary.
This whole war in Iran is a shitty proposition, but it is a necessary one.
Okay.
Because Iran has been a cancer in the Middle East for a long time, and this war is like chemotherapy, getting rid of a cancer. It's a no-win situation. I've studied history for a long time, and we tried the appeasement and make a deal with them, and that's what Obama did. But that was very much like what Neville Chamberlain did in 1938.
With Hitler.
Now, even though that didn't result in a war like this, seems like when Obama made the deal with them, things seemed to be going.
And also notice
okay.
the constant comparison to World War II. World War II. They fantasize about what their parents went through because they didn't go through it themselves.
I like that. See, I've been shit talking boomers for a long time, but I never put that together. That's a very interesting insight.
I've been watching this
fantasize
stuff
about
for a
what their
long
parents
time, man.
did because they didn't do it. See, that's good. That's good.
Yes.
I like that. I'm going to use that. I will give you credit for that, but I will use that.
Are you referring to?
You can't make peace with people who are crazy. The Nazis were crazy. These guys running Iran are crazy. You can't reason.
I have a question. So Netanyahu has been saying that they're going to have a nuke for about 37 years, and this is the big thing. Do you think they've always been that close to a nuclear weapon? Is that the main concern in your mind? Is that what gets you out to vote?
I think that Iran, it doesn't matter if they're going to have it in 37 years tomorrow or in 50 years. I don't care.
Oh, you don't care. Well, if you don't care, and not to be morbid, but you're not going to be around in probably 20 years, judging by what your age seemingly is, then why don't you keep your fucking bullshit opinion to yourself? Like, I love this. Well, they could have a weapon tomorrow or in 30 years or in 50 years, but either way, we got to do something about it. No, actually, you don't. Like, if you're nearing the end of your life, don't worry about them getting a bomb in 30 years. That's the millennials' problem. That's Gen Z's problem. Why don't you let us decide? How about that? If we're 30 years away from this being a life and death emergency, how about not make it a life and death emergency right now for people who are 20 and 30 years old being sent to fight a war that shouldn't be fought? How about that? If it doesn't matter to you when this becomes an emergency, then why don't you fucking sit this one out? This is the arrogance of this generation that bothers me and bothers a lot of people. Yeah. Sorry. Had to blow off some steam.
Good.
All right.
The fact of the matter is, these guys, because of their belief system, they're fanatics, and they don't give a flying of what happens if they got these kind of weapons, who use them. If they got nuclear weapons, who use them, because it's part of their core fanatical religious belief system.
Okay, what do you think about us killing the?
Okay, so I'm about to get into it here, and it's my response to him, and I'm just thinking the same thing in this moment. So he's like, it's part of their core fanatical belief system that they want to nuke the U.S. or Israel or whatever, that they want to nuke us, whatever us means. Actually, we killed the guy with the religious decree. It's a crime against God to make nuclear weapons in Iran, has been since 2004. We killed that dude. It's almost like we want them to try so we can let Israel off the leash and they can unleash nuclear hellfire.
Right.
Go ahead.
Ayatollah, the man who had the fatwa, the religious order to ban nuclear weapons. What do you think about us killing that guy? He signed it's a crime against God over there to have a nuke.
I would like to believe it, but I don't believe it. I don't think.
Two CIA Senate reports. You can watch Tulsi Gabbard talk about it live on YouTube. Look it up right now.
I understand what you're saying, and I just think that my problem is I know too much about history.
Right. That's your
the thing.
problem.
And unfortunately, we have to do this. It stinks. It sucks. I've lost a lot of money because of it. It's inconvenienced a lot of people.
Always the money. Always the money. Yep. Always the money. I hear what you're saying. Problem is, I know too much about history.
A lot of people killed a lot of people, but you have to look at what Iran has done ever since this has been run by these nutcakes.
Is the United States subservient to the state of Israel?
No. I do not believe that. I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm pro-Israel. And the reason why I'm pro-Israel is because I think, have you ever been to Dachau?
You're talking about the Holocaust and stuff like that, right? What does that have to do with the modern state of Israel?
It has everything to do with it. Because if you go there or you go to Auschwitz, you're going to see what happened to them. And they have the right to return to what was originally one of their homeland. I understand the Palestinians.
3,000 years ago, the Bible says and all of that.
Yeah, and by the way, that's interesting you bring that up because there's a lot of Bible prophecies coming true anyway.
Oh, this guy sounds more and more. This guy sounds better and better by the minute here.
Okay, so this is a theocracy. All right,
Yeah.
you want to talk about the mullahs and them over there and all their weirdness. You're just as weird, if not weirder. Mr.
Right.
Biblical prophecies are coming true.
You're right,
They're promised
exactly.
the land 3,000 years ago. It's insane.
Right.
This stuff, very interesting.
Everything. It's all in the prophecies. And I mean, I'm not a fanatical, believe me. I'm very moderate on a lot of things, but you got to look at things in shades of living color, not in black and white. And that's the problem. Americans like to do this or that. We got the two extremes in this country. I'm stuck in the middle.
Oh, yeah.
I just wish people would start talking to each other instead of arguing.
Okay, so you talk about Dachau. What about Gaza? What about the Palestinian genocide?
You're right. What a great question. Why aren't we going after Hamas for that? Hamas started that. It pisses me off when they get all
Disgusting.
Yeah.
Like actually disgusting. And this is the thing, like I get angry when I film these.
Right.
Like it's really hard for me to maintain my composure and just not to yell at this guy.
Yep.
Like, oh, well, that's such a good question. You know, Hamas. And
Right.
it just makes me want to vomit.
Yep.
these demonstrations, Hamas is behind it. This goes back, and who's behind Hamas? Is Iran.
Israel literally leveled Gaza. What do you mean? I mean, it's self-evident, of course.
This is what I'm talking about with the cancers. Now, here's the deal. If you study the Nazis and the Germans,
Again, with the Nazis.
as late as early 1945,
I've read a lot of history. It's why I can only ever really reference one specific period of time.
Germans
and the Bible
were influenced by the Nazis, and they were so afraid of the Nazis at the same time. And yet they would say, we know that our country's being destroyed by Allied bombs, but we have faith in the Fuhrer.
Okay, so what does that have to do with when they shut down the UN aid centers? They say the Hamas is stealing
Good
the food or
question.
whatever. They shut down the 400 UN aid centers. They have 4 GHF ones they set up. Between, I believe it was June and August, they killed about 2,000 people and they wounded about 12,800. What do you think about them shooting into the crowds of people?
It's not Israel.
Have you seen the footage
Not
of the
Israel.
dead kids and the bombs?
Hold on, take a deep breath now.
Okay, all right.
The latest time I read the news, which was about 2 hours ago, they were talking about how, and this was yesterday also, by the way, Iran is doing the same old trick that Hamas did and Hezbollah did as well. They're moving their rocket launchers in the most distantly parted part.
And there you go. Same
areas
on that. Oh, that on the
of,
news.
of
Big
Tehran.
history expert.
You know
here.
why? So they can say,
Well, like,
oh,
you're positive.
you destroyed, you killed all these babies.
He's presenting this in his mind. He's presenting this in his mind like he's some sort of grand expert on like military strategy. And you haven't read well, young man. I've studied the conflict. And I literally watch, cover, report on this 8 to 10 hours a day. Okay,
Right.
I've been watching Larry Johnson. He's been educating me on all this stuff since the Ukraine war for like 3+ years via the power of the internet. And this is literally like I view myself as someone. I've studied this thing over the course of my life. I may as well have a degree in it. Okay. And this is like an infant who is learning how to like read and write, telling me what's going on in the world. Like he doesn't know anything. And he's been on the planet like 3 times over more time than I've been here. He's been on the earth and he still can't figure this stuff out. That's what's really disturbing about this. It's really a problem.
Yeah, I mean, this is widespread. This is one of the things about, like learning about politics and discussing politics is for a living is when you do it long enough and when you do it professionally, you develop a certain expertise in it. Not to say we're all geniuses here, but we we are qualified to talk about it. Right, exactly, because as evidenced by the fact that we do it professionally. So enough people are invested enough in what we say that like what we say carries a certain weight. No one will ever defer to someone else's expertise in this way. Like just because you talk politics for a living is not going to stop the average schmuck from thinking they know more than you.
Yes.
Whereas you can't apply that across all practices. Like if you have never driven a car before, you're not going to walk into an auto mechanic's garage and be like, what are you putting that part there for? That should be over there. Like you never did do that because you don't know how to fix the car.
Well,
Politics,
because
everybody thinks they know how to fix the car. Everybody thinks they are an expert on it, no matter what.
Well, even more than that, it's like being a race car driver, and he's used to playing Mario Kart. Like his entire political world is fake. It's
Right.
all built on sand. None of it has a solid foundation. He doesn't have an explanation for anything historical that's accurate. So how do you even like? What's the bridge point? He's like, he thinks I haven't heard about World War II, and that he's dropping some like Mac Daddy bomb knowledge.
Right.
And then with this anecdote, it means nothing. The question that I asked him was about them shooting into crowds of people and killing them when they shut down the over 400 UN-8 centers. Is Hamas is stealing the food. They set up 4 GHF centers, and they're literally like cattle lines, just shooting into the crowds of people going to get the food and water. And the total deflection, total evasion, I don't think it comes from a malevolent place. I think he's literally cattle, and he doesn't know.
Well, of course.
But his brain is crystallized to where he'll never learn anything again. He's like a flesh robot.
Yeah, no, he seems like a nice enough guy, but just totally brainwashed. Yeah.
Yeah.
All these people.
Are you a boomer? You sound like a boomer to me.
Right, here comes the
You
twist.
sound like you're pro-Iran.
I'm pro-America. I'm pro-anti-foreign entanglement.
That's a pipe dream.
Oh, see, the people that have done this to our country and paid taxes into the system and voted for decades and decades and decades, you've made America worse. Are you aware of that?
Well, I think we have. I totally agree. I think our politicians today, who are baby boomers, have fucked this country up.
Now here's the twist. Are you ready for the big twist, everybody? Because up till now, you think you're dealing with what? A MAGA chud or a Bush voter or a brainwashed right winger. So here's the twist now.
That's why I gave Bernie Sanders so much money. See, I'm not a conservative or a sprouthead. I'm right in the middle.
Coming?
I just want what's good for the country and good for the world.
So war.
He's a Bernie bro. Who saw that coming?
That little face where he's like, go back just like 1 second, maybe.
Yeah.
Let's examine this. Just here, play it a little bit.
Sanders so much money. See, I'm not a conservative or a sprouthead. I'm right in the middle.
Pause it. I'm reasonable, man. I'm reasonable, man. No, it's not that you're reasonable. This is the kind of like the inversion or kind of like the left wing paradigm version of the quartering, right? This is someone that's sleepwalking us into all these conflicts and has been voting for perpetual war, perpetual genocide all their life, basically. And that's why they don't understand anything we're talking about when we're on the street. That's why they don't get it.
So much money.
I gave Bernie so much money.
I'm not a conservative or a sprouthead. I'm right in the middle. I just want what's good for the country and good for the world.
So war and foreign entanglement and billions of dollars being spent in Israel and Ukraine is good for the country. What would that money do for the people that can't eat here, the people that are on the street?
That's a whole different thing. The people who are on the street, most of them are drug addicts. Or they're mentally ill.
Christian
There's 1/3 of
here.
them. I've studied this in depth. There's 1/3 of
You're
them.
conservative Christian, sir.
This guy's a Bernie guy? I don't remember that at a Bernie rally. Everybody who's homeless, the reason they're drug addicts.
Get screwed.
Get screwed. Take a shower and go to work.
I shook Bernie's hand one time at LAX.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, 100%. Going to Hawaii.
Oh, that guy's a trip, man. Well, hey, good find. Good find and nicely done. You can watch that whole video on Rex's X account. All right, man. Well, hey, I'll let you go. I got a little bit more housekeeping to do, but I know you got a third show of the day. I really appreciate you coming by. Tell everybody once again where they can find you.
Sure, man. What a blast. I appreciate it. I am a dissident. I'm a dissident just like you. I've been looking forward to this since it was since we started talking about it, Keaton. Always an honor to appear on here. I do a number of shows. I'm doing The Gray Area, which is the show that been promoted on here before. Y'all have actually rated me before, which I really did appreciate. That's Thursday and Sunday, usually starting around between like 7:30 and 8 p.m., usually going 2 to 3 hours, definitely 3+ hours on a Sunday. On a Sunday, we always get a great guest. We always get phenomenal callers to call in. We always have a deep dive. My co-host does the deep dive, which is like a causality breakdown where we go back decades and look at the events that we're dealing with the consequences of today. Love the gray area. I do a show called The American Journal, soon My American Journal next week. Right now, I've been on InfoWars closing it out for the past month. That's a 5-day-a-week weekly show, 3 hours a day, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. I will be taking that over on my X and setting up a channel for it on Rumble, on YouTube, and all of that. So if you guys ever want to pop in the morning, I'm doing daily news coverage. I'm doing news blitz. I want to stay on top of everything. And at night, when I'm not doing a gray area or when I'm not taking a night off, I'm usually going to do a 90-minute countdown show running down the biggest news, especially with the war and everything going on. I want to be a home for you guys, news-wise, 24/7. I also just want to say, if you guys really want to support me, if you like the work that I'm doing, I've worked in nutritional supplements since I was about 8 years old. It's what I'm truly passionate about. I've been in business for 5 years, since I was 19. I have employees. I have payroll. I pay people great wages. I have a warehouse out in Leander and manufacturing up in Temple. I work with other small business people, other Americans that want to promote their brands and have a means to do that through selling a product that they own instead of doing an ad read for a company that doesn't care about them. If y'all are ever interested, you can just at me on Twitter. I'd love to white label something for anybody interested. If anyone needs a supplement white labeled, best rates, best prices, everything. And I sell a variety of them. If you want to go to 50percentoff.com, if you want to go to jonescbd.com, if you want to go to shroomforce.com, everything I sell is budget premium. It's the best price, highest efficacious dose. I grew up watching people in the supplement industry try to convince us to sell things for way too expensive or try to get us to order $14, $15 a unit formulas. What I've always done and what I realized the scam was that I wanted to not do and to war against was I was sent around as a consultant to all various places around the U.S. to meet with these big formulators. And what these people do is they paid a college to do a study on a modified ingredient that's just a generic supplement product that you could use anyway and make claims about anyway. And they indemnify themselves from certain liabilities to make certain like really strong health claims. And they try to convince you to pay like 2 times, 3 times premium and order a product for like $14 to $20 a bottle. I make all my own stuff and I ship all my own stuff out. So I don't have a toxic middleman like that anywhere. It's just me, 23-year-old, running my own business. And it's a real adventure to get to do that. So if you want to support American manufacturing and shipping, 50percentoff.com, jonescbd.com, shroomforce.com. Sorry for the plug. It's in my blood. It courses through my veins. I must do it or else I'll explode. But seriously, I'm trying to be a professional newscaster, pundit, broadcaster, and it's such an amazing honor to get to come on a show like this. And I plug because I got to pay my rent. So thank you so much.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much. You're a natural at this, I could say. So American Journal, Gray Area Talks. You'll be on later this evening.
Yes,
we
sir.
we'll have you back sometime soon. Appreciate you, man. Thanks so much for being here.
Tell Russell I say hello and I hope China's great as well. Thank you so much, Keaton.
Absolutely, man. Thank you. Bye-bye. All right, that's Rex Jones, everybody. Round of applause for our guest host. Great lineup of guests this week. Clint Russell, Kit Cabello, and Rex Jones. You got a great co-host, or not a co-host, but an interview / co-host this Sunday night. So I will let you know who that is before the end of the show. Hey, if you like what we do here and you want to help us do more of it, the best way to do that is to become a member. DoDissidents.com/Patreon/Substack or /locals. For just $5 a month, you get your name up on the scroll here. You also get ad-free replays of every live stream emailed to you the day after they air live. You also get one film club live stream with our friends at Right Brain TV. We are going through their catalog of dissident cinema from around the world. So movie nights are something that we do once a month for members. And you get call-in access to all of our Q&As, which happen every Sunday night. You guys are the backbone of the show. We could not do this without you. Eric Rousseau says, Trump, tell you what, Pope, let me put a Trump hotel in the Vatican. We'll call it Trump Cathedral. It'll be great. Yeah, there you go. Mark P. Thicko, the Poop is trying to pop the Pope. Good one. Andy Gardner. So they wanted to use a UFC event to bribe the Pope into supporting a war. They could have just, not even tried to do that. Yeah, such a stupid idea. Such a stupid idea. How about you just leave the Pope alone? Don't invite him to the wrestling match and let him, say what he wants. No, they are quite the genius crew here. Eric Rousseau says, I pray to Joe Boo, but I can't seem to hit a curveball. Ha! Good one. Love that movie. Seen that movie way too many times to count. Kuznetsky Bassane, thanks for the $4.99. Geopolitical events are moving beyond whatever Trump and the U.S. warmongers want. Yes, things do seem to have a momentum of their own, and that's why this was such a miscalculation, right? I mean, there was just no way that they were going to be able to foresee this. That was one of Charlie Kirk's quotes over the last year. Once you do a regime change war, you don't know what comes next. There's no way to predict what comes next. Okay. Oh man, I shouldn't have let him go. Can we get a response from Rex Jones of Donald Trump attacking Alex Jones in his insane new post? I will pass the word along. Maybe he'll do that on his show tonight. Because that would have been funny. Yeah, Alex just interviewed Marjorie Taylor Greene. I haven't watched that whole interview. I've seen some of the clips surface. Eric Rousseau, this guy kind of looks like Russell Dobular, evil dumb Dobular. Thank you, Eric Rousseau. Yeah, Russ is having a fun time in China. Follow Russ on Twitter for all of his China photos, and I'm sure he'll have some travel content on Russ of the Road soon. So Russ on the Road. .nyc. I actually talked to Russ on the phone for the first time, and the longest time I've been without talking to Russell on the phone is this past stretch. It had been a few days, but I talked to him today. Doing well. He went to that wall. He has a great, wholesome, platonic relationship with the Great Wall of China. They're just friends. That wall is a lady. The Great Wall of China, that wall is a lady. You treat that wall like a lady, not like the Wailing Wall. Kuznetsky Bassane, that guy Rex interviewed, is living in the world of 50 years ago. Yep, indeed. Goo 81 says, I wonder if that old boomer can live amongst Arabs living in his community after Isn't Real is done stealing. Yep. Well said, my friend. Appreciate that very much. Appreciate you all very much for being here today. Thank you very much. We will be back on Sunday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. Sunday, April 12th. Methylene Blue just snuck in a super chat toward the end here. Thank you for having me on. Sorry. Oh, is that is this actually Rex, or is this? He says, thank you for having me on. Sorry, it's not populating my screen here. Was he paying us $20 at the end? Is this actually him? I don't even know. Thank you for having me on. Sorry to plug, guys, and sorry I look so chopped. Life full of stress. I love this show and the listeners out there. I'm one too. I guess that is Rex Jones. Sorry, you're a natural, man. He's that's in his D. He said it's in my DNA. Gotta sell. Always be closing. Coffee is for closers only. Assuming that is really Rex Jones. Thank you, man. Always you crushed it. Great job. Great guests this week. How do you like that? Really great guest this week. Thank you for the super sticker, French Laundry. Appreciate that very much, my friend. He says, yes, it is me. Okay, cool. Because you used to have the screen name Conor McGregor was never my friend, so I didn't know if you changed your name. I guess you did. But thank you, man. Great job. Awesome job. On Sunday night, we'll be back at 7 p.m. We have special guest Janine Eunice on Sunday night. She is a civil rights attorney. She's got a Substack now where she will be tracking the free speech abuses of this administration. So we're going to talk about the state of civil liberties, the war in Iran. She has a great X account. Go follow her. She will be here on Sunday night at 7 p.m. with us. So great guest coming up. I want to thank everybody in the YouTube chat, everybody in the Rumble chat. I want to thank our mods for keeping the peace in the chat. I want to thank our special guest co-host, Rex Jones, and thank the audience for being with us here for this first week of Russ's departures, first week of me holding things down myself. I hope you've been enjoying the show. If you are, please smash that like button. That is extremely helpful, especially on a stream today, which was at an off time. So we didn't get the normal algo boost that we usually get at our regular time slot. So smash that like button, please, on the way out if you can, on YouTube and on Rumble. And we'll see you back here Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. Until then, thanks everybody for spending the afternoon with us. Be safe and be well. Courage.
Please clap.